not quite to 50, and some light rain. The lights are already on at Pitt Stadium. And let's check in back down on the field with Pat Hayden. Pat, how might this affect the Miami quarterback Craig Erickson, this cold weather?
Well, Jim, as you know, Craig Erickson is getting his first start since September 30th when he broke the knuckle on his right index finger. That's his passing hand. Now, that knuckle is very important for one's grip. I talked to Craig right before the game and said it's not bothering him now, but as the weather gets colder and colder in the fourth quarter, it may affect his grip.
All right, Pat, that's something we'll watch now as Erickson returns to the starting lineup. Now, the Miami Hurricanes ranked 7th in the country with a 7-1 record. First-year coach Dennis Erickson. And this Miami program has won 49 of its last 51 regular season games. Let's get a last-second update now from the Pittsburgh end of it with John Dockery. Doc?
You know, Jim, the Pittsburgh team is just coming out of the locker room. You see them behind. They're hoping that the weather will help them today, that it gets colder, that there's more rain, so that the warm weather team coming north will be affected. But they're also hoping to disrupt the rhythm of Miami with different looks on defense. Here they come, Jim.
Gotta watch out. The Panthers are ready to come barreling out. Here they are, 5-1-1 on the year. This season, they cracked the top 10 for the first time since 1983. But they're coming off a 45-7 loss against Notre Dame in their last outing. They're ready to make up for that effort today. Miami and Pittsburgh about to meet for the 19th time on a gray day in Pittsburgh.
CBS Sports presents college football. Live from Pitt Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's the Miami Hurricanes versus the Pittsburgh Panthers. Today's CFA game is sponsored by Michelob Dry. Bold taste with no aftertaste. Mick Dry refreshes completely. The U.S. Armed Forces, where opportunity is waiting for you. AC Delco, automotive parts that don't just fit, they match. And by today's Chevrolet, who invite you to see why nobody's winning like the heartbeat of America.
Pitt Stadium, built in 1924, the home of the Panthers. Jeff Van Horn will kick for Pitt. Pitt won the coin toss and elected to defer. Randall Hill and Alex Johnson are standing on the goal line for the Miami Hurricanes. Comes to Johnson at the 1. Johnson with a good return to the 33-yard line. They'll start from there with Craig Erickson returning to the starting lineup after missing 4 starts. Alex Johnson will fill in now and step in for the injured Leonard Conley, who should play. Wesley Carroll is the leading receiver on this Miami team, but they've got 6 good ones. Randall Hill and Dale Dawkins will also start. 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for Erickson, who returned last week against East Carolina. Handoff to Johnson on first down. He gets to the 40-yard line in a 6-yard gain. Tackled by Curtis Bray of Pittsburgh. Panthers on defense, very intense. Mark Spindler and Tom Sims, they are the defensive tackles. On the ends, Hamilton and Smith. Nelson Walker is the middle linebacker. 2 strong sophomores, Bray and McDonald, on the outside. 2nd down 4 for Miami. Flags are down.
Well, Jim, you said this is a very important game for both of these teams. And they're similar in some ways, particularly on defense. The procedure penalty against Miami, but particularly similar on defense. Both these teams run 4-man lines. And that man right there is one who said, if this defense, our front 4 plays well, we have a chance of winning today.
Mike Godfrey, 4th year as the coach, Pittsburgh. And now the 5-yard step off makes it 2nd down and 9. 3 receivers to the left for Miami. They run it again with Johnson, and he'll lose yardage. Prentice Wright, number 7, comes up, makes the tackle in the backfield. Miami offensive line is set this way. Garcia at center. The guards are Rod Holder and Darren Handy. And the tackles Mike Sullivan. His 31st straight start in Leon Searcy. Rob Chudzinski. Good receiver. Reliable tight end for the Canes, who face a passing down on 3rd and 11. Erickson passes incomplete, knocked away. Barry Threets batted it down, intended for Lamar Thomas.
Well, the Pittsburgh defense in the first series did exactly what they want to do. Get Miami's offense in 2nd and long and 3rd and long situations. They'll use a lot of nickel and dime situations today.
Tim Kalal punts for Miami. Hampton, the return man for the Panthers. Stephen McGuire is the up back here. Now the punt formation for Miami. We'll be seeing McGuire today, freshman running back. And Alonzo Hampton waiting the kick from Kalal. Hampton, a senior from Denver, Colorado. One of the top-rated cornerbacks in college football. Kalal to punt. Big high spiral. Fair catch called by Hampton at the 26-yard line. That's actually Tootin. Tootin making the fair catch at the 26. Alex Van Pelt, the redshirt freshman quarterback for the Panthers. He's thrown 11 touchdowns. Joined in the backfield by Ronald Redmond, a good receiver from the fullback spot, and Kervin Richards rushed for over 1,000 yards last year as a freshman. Henry Tootin is their best receiver, and Olanda Truitt is an oncoming freshman from Birmingham, Alabama. 1st and 10 Panthers. They're going to throw right away, and they swing it over to Redmond. Just a short gain as he's bunked out at the 29-yard line by Roland Smith and Maurice Crum.
You know, Paul Hackett, the new offensive coordinator at Pittsburgh, has brought the short pass back into Pittsburgh. They believe in throwing the ball to the tight end and to the backs. A year ago, their tailback only caught 2 balls. This year, the backs have caught 23 passes among them. Actually, 49 passes, and the tight ends have caught 22.
Yeah, that's the 21st catch of the year for Redmond, the fullback. 2nd down 7 for Pitt. Now running with Richards, and he's got room. A 1st down for the Panthers. Tackled by Hurley Brown. Charles Farms. Good block by Calaguire, the right guard for Pittsburgh.
Watch the left side of the offensive line here. Who open? They do a little double team there on the tackle Kennedy, Cortez Kennedy, and then Kervin Richards just picks his way through the hole. But Jim, again, Mike Godfrey said we can't have Alex Van Pelt have to win the game. Kervin Richards has to run the ball well, and our offensive linemen have to have the best game of the season.
Have a confidence boost to start out for the freshman. A quick 1st down. Double tight end set. Lionel Sykes, Eric Seaman. They go over to Seaman. Fumbles the football after picking up the 1st down, and it goes out of bounds. There is a flag on the play. It was a loose football and kicked out of bounds at the 42-yard line. Now let's check the penalty.
It's illegal receiver downfield, it looked like. It's Bill McDonald, the referee. Not sure how that happened. The ball was out of the quarterback's hands so quickly. I'm not sure how anybody could be downfield, quite honestly.
There were a whole rash of penalties early in the Notre Dame game. Pitt jumped out in front early, 7-0. Then had a safety, then a bunch of illegal procedures and nagging little penalties that seemed to just shift the momentum.
Well, they use a lot of different formations. They shift people. They call a lot of audibles, and sometimes you're going to have those procedure penalties. But Mike Godfrey, after that Notre Dame loss, said, hey, fellas, we have to make up our minds that we're not going to have those kind of penalties if we're going to compete with teams like Miami.
Well, it's a loss of down, loss of 5 yards as well. 2nd and 15. Now Van Pelt across the middle, and the pass is almost caught by the tight end Lionel Sykes. Hurley Brown in the area to defend for Miami.
And Lionel Sykes is a tight end that the Pitt people feel has tremendous potential. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, and can get upfield. Again, here's the nickel situation with the tight end trying to get right down the seam. Good touch over the defender, but terrific good coverage there, and a pretty good throw by Sykes. But there are two white jerseys around Sykes.
But that was a terrific throw by Van Pelt. It was right there. And the Miami defenders were all over, right in the area to defend. 3rd down and 15. Van Pelt rushing away and trying to get the ball to Redmond, and the Panthers will punt. Russell Maryland came running in there, putting pressure, forcing Van Pelt to leave the pocket.
Well, we talked about pressure defense, Miami's pressure defense at the top of the show, and that's exactly what they do. Even when it's a screen pass, they disrupt the rhythm of your blocking schemes.
Brian Greenfield, junior college transfer from Glendale, California, was the top junior college punter in the country last year, about to boot it away to Wesley Carroll. Snap gets away from Greenfield. Here comes Hurley Brown and Farms, and the ball is down at the 3-yard line.
That's a ball he should throw out of the end zone, Jim. He had to bat that ball out of the end zone for a safety.
Could have kicked it out through the end zone for 2, and now Miami is set up for a touchdown. Just the 3-yard line.
And that surprised me because every punter practices this situation. Every coach practices this situation. When you're backed up and you have a bad snap, get the ball out of the end zone. Kick it, even if it's a penalty. Get the ball out of the end zone and take the safety. Do not go down inside the 5. Oh, boy.
Low snap by Tom Hubner, and now Dennis Erickson and company set up at the 3-yard line. 1st and goal from the 3. 12 minutes, 12 seconds left in the first quarter. Run it. Crowell gets the carry, and he's just short of the score.
You know, over the years, this Miami team has been an interesting offensive team because although they throw the ball with great finesse, when they've gotten inside the 5-yard line, they've been able to hammer the ball in. Most passing teams can't do that, but they've done it in the past under Jimmy Johnson. They're trying to continue that under Dennis Erickson.
They brought in a second tight end, Randy Bethel, number 93. He's caught 2 touchdowns. Chudzinski, the starter at tight end, has 1. Steve McGuire is in the backfield now. 2nd and goal from the 1. McGuire dropped for a loss. Carnell Smith.
You are seeing 2 very good college front 4s play today. That time, Carnell Smith, number 91, the right defensive end, just beats his man very quickly. Saragusa, 98, falling off his man. 94, Walker. But 4 blue jerseys getting penetration down by the goal line, and that's what goal line defense is, penetration.
So now it's 3rd and goal for the Hurricanes. They stay with McGuire as the lone setback. 3 receivers to the right. 1 tight end, Chudzinski. And now a timeout called by Miami. So the Hurricanes will come back and get another crack at the end zone here early in the first quarter.
In goal on the 3-yard line. If you're thinking defensively like Pittsburgh is, it's a passing down for this Miami team. They have their nickel defense in. 45. Barry Threets, their nickel back, is in now. They're expecting pass. Prentice Wright, number 7, will line up on a tight end and guard him man for man.
Hurricanes send out Randall Hill, Dale Dawkins, and Wesley Carroll. Chudzinski, the tight end, lined up on the left. Now McGuire out in motion. On 3rd and goal, Erickson swinging at Chudzinski, incomplete. Got a hand on it. Looked like Chudzinski had it for a moment, Pat.
Well, the ball was high. If it's thrown in his numbers, this is an easy touchdown, but a clever little play. He should have caught the ball nonetheless. That ball should have been caught. 4 wide receivers to the right. They threw it back to the left to the tight end.
20-yard field goal attempt by Carlos Huerta. And from the left hash mark, Huerta drives it through. So Miami had 1st and goal from the 3. and settles for only 3.
Miami 3-0 over Pittsburgh. They bungled the punt. Pittsburgh did. Then an incomplete pass. Erickson to Brzezinski set up a field goal to give Miami that 3-0 lead. But as important, Mike Gottfried said before the game that if there were problems and mistakes, his Pittsburgh team couldn't fold up. When they came off the field, it was triumphant. They were jumping around. They were happy to hold Miami to 3 points. Pat and Jim?
That has to be a lift indeed for Pitt. And Huerta will kick. For the Canes, squigs it, bouncing around on that slick turf, and picked up by Glenn DeVoe. He's tackled at the 29-yard line. Now let's meet some of the Miami defense. Going against Alex Van Pelt, Russell Maryland, and Cortez Kennedy. What a defensive front Miami has. Front 7, really. Willis Pegues and Greg Mark. Middle linebacker, Bernard Clark, they call him Tiger. Richard Newbill and Maurice Crum are the outside linebackers. 1st and 10, Pittsburgh. Redmond and Richards in the backfield. Richards runs it. It's away from 1 tackle, and it's a 6-yard gain to the 35. Tackled by Hurley Brown and Maurice Crum.
Boy, nice blocking by the Pitt offensive line this far. Chris Getz and Cicely, the center, who's filled in very well. Getz, the center there, number 72. Caliguire, the leader of that offensive line. Matus, the left tackle, has to protect the backside of the quarterback. And Lavorio's a nice one. Seaman, the tight end, but they'll also play Lionel Sykes at tight end as well.
Give him a gain of 7. 2nd down and 3. Van Pelt complete to Truitt. And out of bounds at the 45-yard line.
Well, Jim, at the top of the show, we said Pittsburgh has to find a way to overcome this onslaught of the defensive front from Miami. But this is what you do. You throw the ball quickly. Just a 3-step drop, but still look at the pressure. It's Cortez Kennedy all over Van Pelt on a 3-step drop. So if that's going to happen as a defensive team, the adjustment you have to make is roll the corners up. If they're only going to throw 3-step drops, they can't throw long balls, roll the corners up.
Pitt has allowed only 8 sacks this year. They gained 10 on that pass play to the freshman Truitt. 1st and 10. Looking for Redmond. Now goes to his second choice and over the head of Truitt. Almost picked off by Roland Smith.
Well, what a nice play by Truitt. He turned into a defender there. That ball was about to get intercepted by Smith, and Truitt actually tackled him. Watch number 80, the freshman, a heads-up play. There was a flutter ball. It didn't come out of his hand right. And then number 80 right there, Truitt, sees the ball is going to get picked off. And boy, quarterbacks love to see that when a receiver protects them.
And that was Orlando Truitt making the good play. Had the reception on the play before. How did he ever get away from Alabama and Auburn? He hails from Birmingham. A true freshman, Orlando Truitt. 2nd down 10. Pressure again. Van Pelt gets it away. Complete to Richards. Right at midfield. Gain of 4. It'll set up 3rd and 6. Kenny Berry and Roland Smith in the secondary. Smith with 4 interceptions. Almost had his 5th a moment ago. Hurley Brown and Charles Farms, the safeties.
And with the pressure they get with their front 4, their linebackers and safeties and corners ought to make a lot of plays.
Truitt to the left, Tootin to the right on 3rd and 6. Trying that right sideline again and intended for Kirvin Richards.
Well, great coverage here by Maurice Crum, number 49. He's one of those guys who's a heads-up player. If you beat him once, you're not going to beat him the second time. Does not make a mistake twice in a row.
My goodness, Oklahoma State on top of Colorado in the 2nd quarter, 10-0.
Dangerous game, dangerous week this week for Colorado after their emotional win the last 2 weeks.
They need a victory, one victory over Oklahoma State or Kansas State to wrap up the Orange Bowl, but a loss obviously destroys their national championship hopes, Colorado. We'll be getting updates on that game throughout the day. Greenfield's kick fielded by Carroll at the 3, and he gets away. I was about to second guess the decision by Carroll.
I wasn't.
No, never. No, I'm sure. He still did not quite get to the 20. 48-yard punt, 17-yard return.
Well, has Dennis Erickson done a nice job over the years, Jim? The last few years at Washington State. A year ago, he was 9-3 at Washington State, led his team to a bowl. One of the more innovative coaches in all of college football. 1 year at Wyoming.
That was a controversial departure from Wyoming after one season.
Didn't speak to his team before he left. A lot of people upset in Wyoming.
There were actually death threats on him. He did not even go back after making the decision. Erickson's pass to Carroll. Carroll to the 32-yard line. He was the punt returner a moment ago, and he's the leading receiver for the Canes. Tackled by Alonzo Hampton after the 13-yard gain.
Well, Wesley Carroll is limping off the field now, but he is the most important receiver for this Miami Hurricane team. A JC transfer, but after his first scrimmage last spring, they said, this guy's our player. He's their featured player, plays their slot back or their H-back.
Lamar Thomas comes in to replace Carroll on 1st and 10. Run it with Alex Johnson. Wow, what a hole. And he gets to the 46-yard line. Gain of 13 on the play.
You know, it's amazing. Miami only has 5 running plays, but they spread you out so wide. Look at their natural holes. There's nobody over the left tackle. There is just nobody even over there. Number 23 comes out, or that's 3 Crossman, I guess. But Alex Johnson finds a huge hole right there. And that's the problem when you spread 3 wide receivers out. It takes a lot of defenders out of the middle of the defense.
1st and 10. Run it again with Alex Johnson. This time foiled. The Miami Hurricanes by Prentice Wright, and a loss on the play. 2 yards.
Well, Keith Hamilton, number 92. At the bottom of the screen here is 6'7", 275 pounds. True freshman, too. Again, what he does, he gets around, he gets on the edge of that offensive tackle and then makes a play. Can really get upfield.
2nd and 12. So they give to McGuire. And McGuire fights his way to the 45 of Pittsburgh, about a yard short of the first down. Tackled in the secondary by Robert Bradley and Lewis Riddick.
Up the first down, and he's to the 33-yard line. This freshman from Brooklyn, New York, last week against East Carolina, ran for 136 yards and 3 touchdowns. And he reminds many people at Miami of another guy who wore number 30 in the backfield for the Canes, Alonzo Highsmith.
Well, was he a player at Miami? Say, this Miami team fools you, though. They come out with 3 and 4 wide receivers, and then they hammer the run at you.
3 receivers, flank to the right, McGuire in motion, 1st and 10. With pressure, Erickson gets it away. Ball is actually caught. Will be a slight loss on the play. Caught by Pee Wee Smith, who came chasing it back behind the line of scrimmage. Actually, maybe we'll call it no gain.
You know, I say Pee Wee Smith did a nice job of just getting back to the ball. He lost track of where the line of scrimmage was, but he did a great job of coming back. But terrific pressure there on Craig Erickson. On the outside, it was Curtis Bray on the outside who put the pressure on him.
See Penn State's in a battle today against Maryland. Penn State's like 31-1 in that rivalry against Maryland. Maybe looking ahead to Notre Dame next week. Crowell in the backfield.
Audible by Erickson. He'll use hand signals to call audible.
And a flag comes from the secondary. The down clock expired, I believe. Stepping off 5 against the Canes.
Exactly right. In 1st down, and the early downs are very important for this Pittsburgh defense. They want to force them in second and longs and third and longs, so they have what they call a reverse nickel package, where they bring in 5 defensive linemen and 5 linebackers on the early downs to set up these kinds of situations, second and 15.
Erickson across the middle, short. Intended for Carroll.
Mark Spindler, number 93, right there in the middle of the screen, is a guy that Greg Erickson's going to have to deal with all day long. You know, the coach said if you had to have 22 guys, you'd like to have 22 guys like Mark Spindler, because you know you'd have a bunch of players who go hard for 60 minutes.
Third down, 15. With protection. Left side completes to Dawkins, and a first down. That's running a route there and knowing where the necessary yardage is. Good play by Dawkins and Erickson.
Boy, a nice touch there by Erickson. You know, we were talking to Dawkins before the game, and he said, hey, Craig Erickson is back. Even though he had that hand injury and the knuckle size looks like a golf ball, he says he threw the ball out here yesterday, and he's got plenty of zip on the ball.
Erickson came in last week, replacing Gino Torretta, the freshman who had filled in. Played against East Carolina, went 11 for 17. So he got the start today. Running with McGuire, and inside the 10 to the 8-yard line. Steve McGuire putting on a good show on this drive. A gain of 13 for McGuire.
And he really is. He's putting on a nice show, McGuire, but watch the holes here develop, because there's so many defensive players out on the perimeter guarding the wide receivers that it opens up huge holes for McGuire to run through. So their passing formations are really helping their run.
He has 3 carries, 36 yards on this drive. On first and goal, they stay with McGuire. He'll score. Touchdown, Miami.
Terrific block by Mike Sullivan, the left tackle. Unbelievable.
For the freshman, his 7th touchdown this year. And Huerta will attempt the extra point. 4 minutes, 40 seconds left in the first quarter. Miami with a touchdown and a field goal. Nothing, Miami.
Number 79 comes all the way from over here. Watch him come out. Mike Sullivan moved from guard to tackle. Watch him headhunt as he signs number 5, Riddick. Drives him back 4 yards, and that allows McGuire to get in the end zone, and Miami is up by 10.
Dean Caliguire strapping on the chin strap, ready to take the field against that vaunted Miami defense.
They get off the ball quick. They all can run, and they're all big, strong guys also. So it's not like you're going against a guy that's just a quick guy or just a strong guy where you could game plan him and, you know, really just come off the ball hard. If he's just going to stuff you and wait, and you can kind of position block him a little bit. Where these guys, you come off the ball, they're going to smack you in the mouth, and then they're going to be able to run and tackle a guy.
Well, Caliguire and company need to drive it. They trail by 10 early. Carlos Huerta handles the kickoff shores as well, and again he squibs it. Comes to Duveau at the 10, and back to the 29, 30-yard line for the Panthers. I'd like to apologize. We're having a few audio difficulties. We'll get that squared away momentarily.
Wow. Yeah, and this is, you see the total offense, the preponderance set on Miami's side, but a very important series here for Pittsburgh, because all the momentum is with Miami, and they need to get something going here, or this could be a runaway. Important series for the Panthers.
Richards, the lone back, on first and 10. 2 tight ends, Sykes and Seaman. Irvin Richards. 3-yard gain to the 31-yard line. Tackled by Russell, Maryland.
We'll talk about Dean Caliguire a little bit earlier. He said yesterday this is a game of technique. Number 64, the right guard, That time, Russell Maryland, number 67, gets the better of him. But believe me, Russell Maryland gets the better of a lot of players. Caliguara was saying, hey, you have to make sure you get your head on the right side, take the right step, or these guys will blow right by you.
Ronald Redmond checks back in to the backfield. Richards runs it. It only gets to the 38-yard line. Newville on the tackle.
The Miami's run defense, Jim, as usual, has really been awesome. In the last 5 or 6 years, we've talked at the top, the quarterbacks always seem to get a lot of the credit in Miami, and they've had some great ones. I'll tell you, I think the defense has been just as responsive. Colorado scored 7, Jim. Now to make it 10-7 in Oklahoma State. They really should decline it because it will force a punt. It would have forced a 4th down.
And they have. They've refused the penalty, and Pittsburgh will punt.
This Miami punt rush team over the years has been sensational. This year, too. They've blocked 4 punts and 1 field goal this year already.
Well, many will recall Bubba McDowell used to be the block specialist. Robert Bailey has done a great deal of it now since McDowell has graduated. Left-footed punter did not catch all of this one. Bouncing at the 33 and down there. Eric Holtzworth. Back up center, downs it, and we go down to the sidelines with John Dockery.
Thank you, Jim. It's been interesting to watch Craig Erickson in between possessions. For the most part, he's kept in his hands in his pouch in the front of his uniform. It's a removable pouch with some felt inside. He's trying to keep that knuckle, the one that was broken 5-6 weeks ago, back, and it's a little bit stiff. He said before the game he's about 85-90%, and so far he's looked pretty good. Back to you guys.
All right, Doc, 1st and 10. Alex Johnson tripped up.
You know, Jim, having broken my hand a few times on guys' helmets like Erickson did against Michigan State, that doesn't really do proper justice. That is the size, really, of a golf ball. And it's the most important finger when you're gripping the ball. You really just need 3 fingers, your forefinger, your thumb, and your pinky. But that is the most important finger because the ball comes off your forefinger last.
You had problems with helmets and seams.
Yeah, I kept sticking my hand in the wrong places. Broke the hand 3 times.
Seams on artificial turf. How many times? Did that get you once or twice?
Just got me once. That was enough.
That was in Seattle, right?
Yeah.
2nd down, pass play to Carroll, and they'll call it a completion at the 41-yard line. Still short of the 1st down, about 3 yards short. Robert Bradley on the coverage.
Wesley Carroll has had a remarkable season already, and this is a good catch. If he didn't trap it live, he may well have trapped it as I looked at it. Yeah, that ball hit the ground. That was definitely a trap. Got away with one there.
Still at 3rd down and 3. McGuire returns. McGuire carries. Good block by Carroll. And enough for the 1st down for Miami at the 45-yard line. Alonzo Hampton had to make the tackle.
You know, the last 3 weeks, Dennis Erickson has put a much greater emphasis on running the football, and we've seen that today. Last week, they had nearly 300 yards against East Carolina rushing the football. And again, they want to do that. They felt if they're going to compete at this time of the year against the Pittsburghs and against the Notre Dames, they're going to have a little bit more balance in their attack.
1:30 left in the 1st quarter, 10-0 Miami. Pass is almost intercepted by Crossman. Oh, did he have an open field ahead of him, too?
And those are the little things, obviously, that drive coaches crazy. You can't control those things. You finally defend this attack well, and you're going to see number 31, the strong safety, Crossman, right there to make the play. But it dropped it. That's maybe and then you have a 10-7 ball game if he picks that one off.
Crossman was the starting fullback for the Panthers last year. Ran for 273 and 2 touchdowns.
Transfer from Kansas, who started at corner at Kansas for a year.
Under coach Mike Godfrey. Godfrey recruited him to Kansas. Second and 10. Man is open. Bethel across the middle. Bethel running now, has all kinds of room to the 30-yard line, where he's bumped out of bounds by Hampton. 26 yards and all the balls at the 29 of Pitt, as we take you back to New York with an update on this big day in college football. Greg?
Well, Jim, Colorado has come from 10 points down to take the lead against Oklahoma State. Darian Hagan, 5 yards for the score. Second TD in just over 3 minutes, and Colorado leads at 14-10, second quarter, Jim.
So Colorado down 10 early has regained the lead. Pitt is down 10 to Miami here. Hurricanes first and 10, driving again. Erickson going for the end zone, and Thomas is through the end zone. No touchdown.
Well, they have so many different weapons as receivers. Lamar Thomas is just a freshman, and 9 catches coming into the game. But as a defensive coordinator, he scares the heck out of you. He's tall, he's 6'3", he can go up and get it, he can leap. Just a little bit too much juice on that ball. But again, between Thomas and Carroll and Hill and Dawkins, you're not sure who to double cover. And that's the problem they present.
Doyle, Aaron, Pee Wee, Smith. 6 guys in all shuttle in to those receiver spots. Second down 10. They bring 4 in on this play, with Pee Wee Smith being the extra. Flags are down.
It's like the clock expired again. And it happens if you have to call if there's a lot of words in your formations. Was worried about the clock. No, it's not Magic Johnson. But if you have a lot of words in their formations and trying to send guys in motion, it means you have to get to the line of scrimmage quickly. Otherwise, the 25-second clock is going to expire on you.
It's Martin Patton realizing what was going on. Second and 15. Now McGuire out in motion. Erickson pass batted down. Almost came back into the quarterback's hands.
And with Keith Hamilton, all 6'7" of them, he's the guy who practices that every day in practice. He is 6'7". They said coming into this game, because Miami doesn't take real deep drops, if you can't get to him, watch the left of the screen, get those paws up. And he is 6'7", and this is no accident. He does this every day in practice. You saw Spindler, number 93, with his hands up as well. And one of those small things that help you.
6'7", the ball actually hit him in the elbow. Crowell is in the backfield on 3rd and 15. Flushed out. Erickson will run. Fumbles the football. And it was batted back into play. A scramble for it still. And it's recovered by Lewis Riddick of Pitt. That ball never went out. Erickson had the necessary yardage for the first down. Now the ball squirting all over this slick field and batted back into play.
And I think it was Hampton, number 3, who batted it back in play. There's Riddick. No, it was somebody, I think it was Crossman who batted it in, and then Riddick came back to make the recovery. But as long as you're not out of the field of play, you can do that.
I'll tell you, Randall Hill, number 3 of Miami, got up for a second. He was ready to pick it up.
Well, that
got away from him. Riddick.
And that is a heads-up play, Jimmy, by Crossman, the man who batted the ball inbounds to keep it alive.
The recovery by Lewis Riddick, and that was a heck of a play by Crossman. And Pitt takes over on the turnover from its own 3-yard line. Final minute of the first quarter. Dangerous screen pass to Redmond. And just a yard. Shane Curry and Richard Newbill, they had a beat on that play.
Yeah. Well, you know what this defensive philosophy of Miami has always been is force everything to the perimeter of the defense and then run them down. They have that kind of speed on defense, and Shane Curry, number 44, did it there.
Very little breeze in the air. Gray and drizzly this afternoon in Pittsburgh.
Jimmy, important 2 downs here, 2nd and 3rd down for Pitt here. The way Miami's offense is moving, it's important for Pitt to get a 1st down.
2nd and 9. Out of the end zone, Van Pelt to Redmond. Clark on the tackle, and that will end the 1st quarter. With the score, Miami 10, Pittsburgh 0. College football on CBS Sports will return after this message and a word from your local station. Talent has grown up within the shadows of Pitt Stadium. Dan Marino was raised in this suburb called Oakland, down in the valley below the stadium. And up above Pitt Stadium on the hill, Major Harris grew up. Just a mere Reggie Rimbert pass away from Pitt Stadium. Other guys within distance here: Marino, Kelly, Namath, Joe Montana, the idol of Alex Van Pelt, who faces a big play here. 3rd down. They'll run it now instead of passing. And Redmond is dropped for a loss by Curry. Shane Curry, the backup, end.
You know, you think because they rushed the passer so hard, you could run a draw play for a big gain. But they can't. You can't, because they create so much havoc coming by you. There's never any rhythm in the play.
Now, remember the low snap that got away. Standing on the back of the end zone, Wesley Carroll about to return. Greenfield, the punter.
10 men up, Jim.
Good snap. Good protection, but the kick is not good. Favorable roll, however, and it's down at the 43-yard line of Pittsburgh. Tomorrow's a doubleheader day on CBS. Early, some will see the Redskins and Eagles. Boy, Washington needs a win. Chicago's right here in town to play Pittsburgh. The Saints in New England, plus other early action: Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Green Bay, and Detroit. The pack is back. Late, the Giants on the coast to take on the Rams. Atlanta, San Francisco, and Dallas and Phoenix. NFL Today starts it at 12:30. 1st and 10, Miami. McGuire in the backfield.
There's the audible with the hand signal. Oh,
sack.
Wow.
Tony Saragusa.
Oof. And the short drop again by Craig Erickson means the offensive linemen have to hold their ground right in front. But look at Saragusa, 98. He just runs right through Mike Sullivan. No chance.
Now, he was out last year with a knee operation. Saragusa, senior from Kenilworth, New Jersey, backs him up the midfield, and Colorado has scored yet another touchdown. They go up 21-10 on Oak State. Delay give to McGuire, and only a couple. Craig Gobb on the tackle.
There's Craig Gobb, number 46. He is really kind of their nickel middle linebacker. He is right here. You see, he's faking the blitz, and then he'll drop back out. That's what they're trying to do, is force audibles and then drop back into coverage. Number 79, Sullivan tries to block him. He slips off that, just shuffles his feet, and makes the stop. That's a nice play by Gobb.
His brother, Scott, is a linebacker at Penn State. Craig Gobb with the big tackle. 3rd and 15, Miami. Erickson's man is open, and it's dropped and intercepted by Lewis Riddick. Bounced off the hands of Lamar Thomas and into the hands of Lewis Riddick, who had made the fumble recovery on the last series.
Well, that was a well-thrown ball by Craig Erickson. This ball is right on the money. And this is the kind of pass you want, because the guy's going to run away from the defender and maybe score if he catches that ball. He's going against the grain. So instead of the score, they call it the interception.
Do you think that touched the ground, Pat? Looked like it may have just, Riddick may have slid his hand right underneath it.
Underneath the play.
Good play by Riddick.
Sent out another look at it, Jim. I was looking actually at the wide receiver. Now, I think he did get the hand underneath the ball.
It is 10-0 Miami, and it could be a whole lot more. 2 Hurricane turnovers in Pitt territory, plus another time where they did not score a touchdown on 1st and goal from the 3. The screen pass intended for Redmond would not have gone very far anyway, because Newbill was waiting. While we're waiting, let's go back to New York with another update. Greg Gumbel.
Well, Jim, as you mentioned, Colorado on the board again. Quarterback Darian Hagan, 26 yards. Watch the diving catch by M.J. Nelson. And the Buffaloes are now leading it by a score of 21-10, second quarter. Jim and Pat?
All right, Greg, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. I think Darian Hagan deserves to be strongly considered for the Heisman.
2nd down and 10 from the 25. Flag is down as Kirvin Richards loses 3. Greg Mark in on the tackle, had him by the knees. Cortez Kennedy had him up high.
I think if you're going to try to defeat this pass rush of Miami, those front 4, what you have to do is several things. Quick counts maybe, then you change it up to long counts, some quick hitting traps. They've tried the screen passes. Those really haven't worked. They're going to have to change the rhythm, I think, of their count perhaps to draw them off sides.
West Virginia comes back to edge Rutgers today, 21-20. Mountaineers are looking for a bowl bid on New Year's Day, like a Hall of Fame bowl bid, now that there are 7 in all on January 1st.
Holding call against Pittsburgh declined.
Possible Citrus Bowl for West Virginia as well. The bids will pretty much be decided in 8 days. Next Sunday, they'll be officially extended on November 25th.
That's why this game is so important for both these teams. Pittsburgh trying to keep their January 1 bowl hopes alive.
3rd and long. And Pelt backpedals, now gives it to Redmond. And only back to the original line of scrimmage at the 25-yard line. Roland Smith.
Took way too long, Jim, to get developed. The screen pass can't take that much time. And it was Greg Mark, number 94, who forced Van Pelt to hold the ball a little bit longer than he wanted. And Mark got up slowly, Jim. You can see he gets rolled there late. Yeah, that's right.
Foot gets planted in the ground. That could be a serious injury.
Yeah, particularly on this turf, it really does catch.
So Greenfield in again. Pee Wee Smith now replaces Carroll as the return man for Miami. Carroll, we hear, has eye problems and a little dizzy at the moment. So he's replaced by Smith. Wow. Greenfield makes up for the last punt. Smith, though, will try the left side. Pee Wee goes out of bounds at the 39-yard line. 11:32 left in the second quarter, and it's 10-0 Hurricanes.
Pro-style passing attack under Dennis Erickson, and what that means is you use numbers. You have a passing tree which kind of helps you identify your routes. For example, you might call a hitch a 0 and an in route the 1, and this makes it easy to call audibles. You can call number 4 and 5 and 6 just using numbers, so each of your receivers know which pattern to run.
And of course, at the root of that passing tree is the quarterback Craig Erickson, who thus far has completed 5 of 12 for 64 yards, 1 interception. 1st and 10 Miami from its 40. Boy, Erickson gets away from Hamilton, and while rolling throws it short at Pee Wee Smith.
Well, Pee Wee's got to work back to him. I think Pee Wee just waited on the sideline, and Craig was waiting for him to work down that sideline because Erickson had nowhere to throw that ball. There's Pee Wee. He's a guy who can really change directions very quickly.
Senior from Compton, California, drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays out of high school. 2nd and 10. Johnson, a loss on the play. Curtis Bray sophomore from Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Well, Curtis Bray is the guy who doesn't get as much credit on this defense as Ricardo McDonald, the other outside linebacker. He's one of those guys who's real steady. He doesn't make a lot of sacks, but he's always in the right position, and he makes the play when it comes to his side.
Started some games last year as a freshman. Now 3rd and 11. 6 defensive backs. Coleman and Threets come in for the Panthers. With protection. Finding on the sidelines. McGuire, and a first down Miami. Back into Pittsburgh territory at the 42-yard line. A gain of 18 on the play. Let's go back to the sidelines now with John Dockery.
Jim, let me update you on a couple of Miami injuries. Greg Mark, you see him behind me there, and if you can look at his tailbone, he's got a bruised tailbone. They expect him to come back. That's a heating pad. Meanwhile, Wesley Carroll is at the other end of the bench. They were checking his eyes for a possible concussion. I'll get you an update on that as well. Okay, Jim.
1st and 10, Hurricanes. McGuire leaning to the 39-yard line. 9 carries, 55 yards for freshman Steve McGuire.
Well, Miami has done a very nice job thus far, Jim, of really mixing in some short passing routes, and they've gone downfield throwing some crossing routes, and then they hammer Stephen McGuire right at you. Really the only true fullback on their team.
2nd down, 6. 3 receivers to the left. Erickson across the middle and almost intercepted by Robert Bradley. Intended for Randall Hill on the slant pattern.
Well, that's 2 interceptions. Bradley should have had that one. Crossman should have had one a little bit earlier. If Miami loses, Jim, it's really by turnovers. As you see, 6 against Florida State this year. 2 of those down on the 1-yard line.
And look at their only losses since '85. And the column that says turnovers. Already 2 today for Miami. But they lead 10-0. And Erickson calls a timeout. Facing 3rd and 7 from the 40 of Pittsburgh. Erickson calls timeout. Pat Hayden, John Dockery here at Pitt Stadium. Miami leading 10-0. 3rd down and 6 from the 40 of Pittsburgh. Pass caught, needing the first down, and he stepped forward for it. Randall Hill caught the pass just short the first down marker, but no defensive back right on him, so Hill was able to step forward, pick up the first down at the 32-yard line.
I think they're going to have to surgically remove that ball from Hill's chest. That ball was right there on the numbers. Easy ball to catch. And they say about Randall Hill, he is the fastest receiver on this team. And I think when you say that about Miami receivers, that means he's got some real legitimate speed.
You like that bullet pass, huh?
I never could throw one, but
you have great respect for it.
Any guy who can.
Erickson indeed has a gun. 1st and 10.
One more audible using the hand signals. Tipped.
Ball tipped, but still caught. Caught by Lamar Thomas, deflected by Keith Hamilton.
Yeah. Hamilton tipped the ball and then made the tackle.
Back down to John Dockery.
And Jim, you know how important receivers are to the Miami offense. Well, one of their best, Wesley Carroll, on the sidelines, hit his head on a pass reception before. Lost field of vision in one eye. They're hoping it will come back. They're going to check him out throughout the game to see if he can play again. Okay, guys.
Meanwhile, Lamar Thomas filling in. 2nd down and 2 after the catch by Thomas. The give to McGuire. He has the first down. And inside the 20 to the 17-yard line. Randy Bethel, the backup tight end, was in there and helped clear the way on that right side for McGuire.
Terrific push by this offensive line. And again, ordinarily teams that pass can't do this with their offensive line. But watch, everybody gets double teamed. Everybody's back 3 or 4 yards. Big room there for McGuire. And then, boy, number 94, Nelson Walker, just knocked McGuire back. It's a nice play by Walker.
1st and 10 Hurricanes from the 18-yard line. Quarterback draw. and only to the 13-yard line.
Again, not a bad call when you spread the defense out. There's a lot of gaps and holes, and Erickson's a pretty good athlete. Again, now's the time when Miami has a 10-point lead, though, for this Pittsburgh defense to show what it's made of. Otherwise, this game is going to get out of hand quickly. They need to stop them here on 2nd and 3rd down and force a field goal attempt.
2nd and 5. Double tight ends. Dawkins at the bottom of your screen. One of the best targets. But they run instead with McGuire. Turns his way to the 10-yard line. Crossman came up. Whole slew of Pitt defenders in on the tackle. 24 unanswered points for Colorado. Tennessee still with the lone loss to Alabama this year. The rest wins. Remarkable turnaround from a team that lost its first 6 in 1988. Finished in a blaze, however, last year with 5 consecutive victories. Johnny Major's team looking for some action on January the 1st.
And Pittsburgh defense wants a timeout.
Well, 3rd and 2 is what Miami will face when we return midway through the 2nd quarter.
Miami leads 10-0. 7:09 remaining in the 2nd quarter. Big 3rd and 2 down here for this Pittsburgh defense, down by 10 points. Erickson calls another audible. Not afraid to do it, even going in to score. Ball tipped again. Trying to get the ball to his tight end, Chudzinski.
And it looks like the Hurricanes, again, are stopped while threatening.
And again, it's those tip balls. Remember how many tip balls we've seen this year, Jim? And we said how many big plays they've saved. And you never know. Well, that one was one right there. Maybe saves a touchdown. 3 tip balls today by the Pitt defense.
Straight away, Carlos Huerta, 27-yard attempt. Kick is good, and it's 13-0 Miami. Carlos Huerta with 2 field goals today, and Miami is in the lead. Bob Valicenti talking to his troops. It's 13-0 Miami, but Pat, it really could be a whole lot more.
Well, they've had the turnovers down there, the tip ball there. It's a rather resilient, I think, Pittsburgh team. You're right, this could already be a blowout. But Bob Valicenti, the defensive coordinator there, is telling his guys, continue to get those hands up. We've tipped 3 already. We can continue to do that.
Pittsburgh about to get the football for the 6th time today. They have not moved it into Miami territory to this point. Short kick bobbled momentarily. DeVoe only to the 20-yard line. Now our CFA action next Saturday will stay in the state of Pennsylvania. We'll move it eastbound to Happy Valley. Penn State against Notre Dame. The Irish winning again today. Their 22nd consecutive victory. Now the longest win streak in Notre Dame history.
And Penn State with the best scoring defense in college football.
Penn State is quite a war today with Maryland. The last report 13-13 in the final quarter. 1st and 10 Pittsburgh. Van Pelt now a little longer route and complete to Truitt. Olanda Truitt, a gain of 21 yards for the Panthers.
And this was set up by a terrific fake by Alex Van Pelt to his tailback. Yeah, he does this as well as anybody we've seen this year, Jim. Watch the fake by Van Pelt. And watch the fake by the tailback, Richards, number 27. He doesn't stop. He runs right through the line of scrimmage. And that leaves him wide open on the corner of the defense and also leaves Truitt wide open. One of those subtle things, the little things that help you.
Truitt got them both down. He only needed 1 foot in bounds here in college ball. Good play by the freshman. Derek Lewis is the fullback, and he gets the carry. Here's another freshman. Very young team, Pitt, at the skill positions. You consider the freshman, redshirt freshman quarterback, Van Pelt. Truitt, who's made some big plays at the flanker position. Derek Lewis, last carry, a freshman. Kervin Richards, a sophomore. Team is 5-1-1 on the year. It's only lost to Notre Dame. In fact, it was the most severe loss by Mike Gottfried in his 4 years coaching at Pittsburgh. 2nd and 9. Good fake by Van Pelt. He's going long for Tootin. He's open. Oh, and he dropped it.
Gosh. Oh. Jeez.
Henry Tootin.
Again, a terrific fake by Alex Van Pelt. Had everybody fooled, myself included. I thought the back had the ball, and so the defensive back, and Henry Tootin was open by 15 yards. Again, the ball's on his hip there. Everybody thinks that Richards has the ball. But he is so wide open, sometimes the receiver just can't wait for that ball to get there. I think it's sometimes easier to catch a ball when the guy is closer to you. He was turning his head upfield.
He was waiting a little bit, and the pass may have been underthrown because Mark came barreling in, putting pressure on Van Pelt.
Ball still should have caught there.
No question. Here's another one that was catchable by Tootin at the 43-yard line, and another incompletion. He should have had that one.
Well, I'd say that's a big turnaround. Instead of 13-7, it's still 13-0 and you're punting. Henry Tootin has been their most reliable receiver all season long. This time it's the crossing route, a little bit high, but he's still a very catchable ball. Kenny Berry was the man who put the hit on him. Got his attention crossing the middle.
Pittsburgh still has not advanced the football into the Miami end of the field. Inside of 6 minutes, 2nd quarter, it's 13-0 Miami. Pee Wee Smith still returning for the Hurricanes, but he won't touch this one. Bouncing around, and what a bounce it is. Touched at the 4-yard line. Ricky Turner downs it at the 4 after the 52-yard punt. Let's go back down to John Dockery.
Thank you, Jim Nance. You know, Darnell Dickerson was to be the quarterback of Pitt this year, but you're academically ineligible. Darnell, what happens from this point on?
Right now, I'm basically getting prepared to come back in January and get myself together. But, you know, I had ups and downs. I just had to get myself together. I just can't do what I've been doing.
I know you played some baseball last summer. Is it baseball or football in your future?
I believe it's football. I think it's going to be definitely football.
Well, good luck to you. Jim?
All right, Doc. 1st and 10, Miami from its 4-yard line. McGuire following the line and getting near the 8-yard line.
5:36 remaining in the 2nd quarter. Very important for Pitt to get back in this game by stopping Miami right here and forcing that punt. They haven't really been able to slow down this Hurricane offense too much today. They need some penetration on this down to force the punt.
We saw Dickerson with the baseball cap on. He did play minor league baseball this year for the Boardwalk Royals in Orlando. We're at Pitt Stadium. 7th-ranked Miami leading 14th-ranked Pittsburgh. And Miami on a 2nd down play, back up in its own territory. Steve McGuire gets near the 10. They'll face 3rd and short. Actually 3rd and about 5.
And that 5-yard line is ordinarily when they send their dime defense in. 7 defensive backs, 4 down linemen.
4 minutes, 40 seconds left before halftime. Miami defense has not allowed Pitt to go anywhere. Now they could set up good field position with a big play here on defense.
Boy.
Overthrown. A flag is down in the backfield.
And that's because Keith Hamilton was tackled on the rush. Yeah. Easy call. Keith Hamilton, the left end, going upfield, was tackled by an offensive lineman. Say, this guy is an impact player for a freshman. knocks down passes. He sacks the quarterback. He causes holding penalties. Keith Hamilton is going to have a very nice career at Pitt.
Well, they'll naturally decline the penalty and force Kalal to punt out of the end zone. Alonzo Hampton is the lone returner for the Panthers at the 45 of Miami. First time today, Pittsburgh should have excellent field position. Rush comes in. Kick is away, and it's a good one. Wow. Hampton backed up to his own 40. Steps forward 5 yards. It's a 51-yard punt. There is a flag down on the 32-yard line.
The clip against Pittsburgh finally get themselves in decent position.
Similar story against the Irish. Some well, decisions made on the punt returns that weren't wise, that backed them up inside of the 10 2 times, set up one safety.
Right. This was just a penalty, though, the clip.
But I'm just saying, on the judgment on the punt returns for Pittsburgh has been costly.
Not been strong this year, and Mike Gottfried addressed it earlier in this week.
At the conclusion of today's CBS Sports College Football broadcast, we will select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the Game from each team. Chevrolet donates a check for $1,000 to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. First and 10 from its own 30. Good fake by Van Pelt. Has his man open. It's Sykes, the tight end, and he gets to the 43-yard line. 13-yard gain.
Well, remember back in, maybe you can't, Jimmy, but think about your favorite quarterback from the 1960s who used to do those play-action kind of fakes. That's what Van Pelt kind of reminds you of, as he's fooled everybody 3 times on some play-action fakes.
My favorite quarterback from the 1960s. Is that what you're asking?
You have one?
Other than Norm Snead? Roger Staubach?
That was the guy.
You can count 60s and 70s
there
in there.
Go.
Roger, is that who you're trying to get to?
Yeah.
All right.
Those guys can really fake the ball, and again, Van Pelt has brought it back to Pitt.
How did you know I was a Cowboy fan? Pass again, complete to Richards, right at the 50.
Okay, 3:49 remaining in the second quarter. Pitt still has 2 timeouts, looking to get at least 3, but perhaps 7 before halftime. They've had some success the last series, or this series, dinking the ball. What they need to hit, Jim, is a receiver on the move going across the grain.
Well, they got a lot of that yardage back from the clipping penalty. It's second down and 4. Derek Lewis, the fullback, is shifting around now. Kervin Richards remains the running back. Pass is complete to Reggie Williams. The first time today, Pitt is in Miami territory.
Paul Hackett, the man there with the glasses on and the headphones, the new offensive coordinator here at Pitt. Came from the Dallas Cowboys, formerly with the San Francisco 49ers, and has done a very nice job throwing the ball to different receivers than they ever had here at Pitt. Getting a lot of balls to the backs and tight ends.
He's got a very bright offensive football mind. He really does. First and 10, Panthers. Man's open across the middle with Seaman. And he's at the 20-yard line of the Hurricanes. 25-yard completion.
You know, Jim, Van Pelt doesn't have the kind of strong arm that Erickson has, but he knows where he's going to throw the ball very quickly so that the ball still gets there on time. Watch here, he has made up his mind. He sees the coverage, he's read it early, looks the one safety off, and then goes right back to the tight end over the middle. Seaman. The quick look off, knew where he was going to throw the ball, and then got rid of it quickly. You don't necessarily have to have a big gun if you make up your mind.
Well, the first threat today for Pittsburgh. First and 10, and a timeout called by Van Pelt, leaving the Panthers with only 1. 2:56 left in the second quarter, trailing 13-0, and we'll be back with more CFA action in just a moment. Quarterback Alex Van Pelt warming up now on this drive. He is 4 for 4. He's brought his team to the 20-yard line of Miami.
And this is where the Miami defense this year and other years has gotten very tough, very difficult to score on from here, from inside the 20, on the 20-yard line now.
Greg Mark is back on the field. We had the report earlier on the bruised tailbone. Lining up at the top of that defensive line, number 94. 1st and 10, Pittsburgh. The pitch to Richards. And Richards for 4 to the 16-yard line, tackled by Bernard Clark.
Well, I thought the left tight end moved early, and the Miami defenders were pointing to him, but no penalty there.
Curvin Richards, sophomore from LaPorte, Texas. Actually born in Trinidad. Well, family moved to the Bahamas and into the Houston area.
And Jim, it's really been some nice adjustments by Hackett and the offensive coaches and Mike Godfrey to spread the ball around, and that's been the difference in this drive.
2nd and 6. Out of the eye. Van Pelt on the slant, looking for Tootin, intercepted. Intercepted by Kenny Berry.
Wow, what a play by Berry. That wasn't necessarily a bad throw. Berry just read it perfectly. This ball's a frozen rope. He leads the receiver, and Berry reads the quarterback the whole way and steps in front of Tootin. Okay. They had what they wanted, Jim. The free safety was not in the way, but just terrific coverage by Berry. Read the pattern. Sometimes when a wide receiver splits out wide, you know he's going to run an inside route, and you take it away like Berry did there.
First turnover of the day for Pittsburgh. Still scoreless. Pittsburgh trailing 13-0. Wesley Carroll back in for the Canes, and a sack. A sack. Saragusa was in on him early, and then Hamilton finished him off. A 9-yard loss inside of 2 minutes. Panthers, however, can only stop it one more time.
Shows you the confidence that Dennis Erickson has in his offense. 1:50 remaining in the half, up by 13. They're still running their hurry-up offense.
And Pittsburgh was confused. They were bringing people in. They had too many men on the field as the Hurricanes approached the line, and they have now exhausted all of their timeouts in the first half.
That shows me something, though, Jimmy, what Dennis Erickson, the coach, thinks about his quarterback, Craig, and his offense. Up by 13, you think he'd ordinarily run the clock out, but he wants more.
Right. Many teams at this point would just be thinking, hey, you know, we got to be careful here. We don't want to set up Pittsburgh in too good a territory here, too good a field position. Miami is still driving, still looking for more, even though it's 2nd and 19.
Much like their defense that attacks on every down, their offense does as well.
We've got a chance. Let's go back down to John Dockery.
You know, Jim, there was a reason that Erickson called that timeout. Dennis Erickson, that is. He was short one wide receiver. Hill was trying to get in the game. He knew he was going to be late, so he was forced to call that timeout because he was one man short. Back to you guys.
Actually, that timeout, I believe, was called by Pittsburgh.
They used their last one. They couldn't get their dime defense on the field that they were trying to.
It was called by Pittsburgh. There was equal confusion on their side of the ball. They could not get all the players off the field in time. Nonetheless, 2nd and 19. Miami. McGuire. And to the 14-yard line he scoots.
And it's too bad Pitt had to use that timeout, Jim, because now on a 3rd and long they could have forced a punt perhaps and used that timeout. But now Pittsburgh has none left. They still should get the ball back, though, if they can stop Miami here.
1:20 left in the 2nd quarter.
Well, this has been a half of missed opportunities by both teams, Jim.
Well, 3rd and 16 here now. If you're Dennis Erickson, do you just run it again?
I think you run it and punt it.
Absolutely. You can kill another 20 or 25 seconds before you have to punt it. And run it they do with McGuire. 4th and 15.
See, now Pittsburgh doesn't have a timeout to use.
Go back down to John Dockery quickly.
You know, You know, Jim, the confusion over that timeout, because Dennis Erickson was running up the sideline because Randall Hill was not in the game, so he was having problems too, but Pittsburgh beat him to the punch on the timeout. You're exactly right. Back to you guys.
Miami may have called one. Had Pitt not beat him to it.
Now, you got to figure here, Pittsburgh has to try to block this punt.
Now the clock running, 20 seconds left. Pilal standing at the goal line.
Smart move. They'll run the clock out. The 30-second clock, or 25-second clock expires.
Back it up to the 10-yard line, the line of scrimmage.
This is a situation you do not want to be a punter in. You know they're going to try to block it. You're backed up in your end zone.
Lonzo Hampton is at the 47-yard line. Snap back by Mike Azer, snapping specialist for the Canes. The ball gets it away. Driving kick. Fair catch called by Hampton. 13 seconds remaining in the half. 42-yard punt. That's a good one. Coming up at halftime, we're going back to New York. Greg Gumbel will fill you in on all the scores and highlights and stories from a busy day in college football. And the professor, Mike Francesa, will tell us a little bit about the bowl picture, how it's shaping up.
He's got it figured out already, huh?
I think he has.
Good for Mike.
Four receivers in the game for the Panthers. And Pelt goes short instead. Incomplete. Another one that should have been caught. Adam Walker.
It's got 4 balls this first half. The most damaging one, though, was by Henry Tootin, who had looked like a sure touchdown that he dropped. It really has been a half of missed opportunities by both football teams.
This is a Pitt team that came back from a 31-9 deficit against West Virginia. Staged a terrific comeback. Ended up tying the Mountaineers at 31-all. 4 receivers set. Now going long. And over the head of Tootin, almost intercepted again by Kenny Barry. 3 seconds remaining.
He had that ball in the air an awfully long way. It's about 60 yards in the air. Well, Pittsburgh actually, Jim, has to feel pretty good about only going down by 13 points at halftime.
Well, you think about it again. Miami had the ball, first and goal at the 3. Settled for a field goal. Another time had the ball on the 10. Had to kick a field goal. The fumble inside the 20 by Erickson when he had the ball jarred loose by Ricardo McDonald. Now with pressure, no chance to get it away. Greg Mark comes in and makes the sack to end the first half. First half dominated by Miami. 13-0 Hurricanes. We'll be right back after this message and a word from your local station.
They are and how they can really come off the line of scrimmage. But look at Pitt's possessions, which I think emphasize the point. Now, they did have the one long throw to Tootin that probably should have been caught for the touchdown. But so far, the storyline has been good defense by Miami, and I think missed opportunities on offense by both teams.
Pitt did indeed have the one touchdown pass perhaps dropped by Tootin. Could have been a touchdown. And another one intercepted once they had driven to the 16 of the Canes. They've come back before this year, however, the Panthers will get the second half started after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of today's CFA game is sponsored by Coors Light. Pure brewed in the Rockies, the Silver Bullet won't slow you down. It's the right beer now. The U.S. Navy. You are tomorrow. You are the Navy. And by Toyota's quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
The Pitt Panthers will receive the football to start the second half. Gray skies in Pittsburgh. We can see some clearing in the distance. This game started with some light rain. Now there is no rain at all. Temperature around 50 degrees and the lights have been on since it started. Panthers, Duveau on the return from his 8. hit at the 30-yard line. Now, Pitt's strategy in the second half. Well, let's find out from John Dockery moments ago with Mike Gottfried.
Yep. Coach, how do you get your offense untracked in the second half?
Well, we just didn't make some plays, John. We had some chances, and we messed it up. But we're up against a very good defensive football team. I think second half we got to try to keep them off balance a little bit more. We've got to be able to run the football a little bit to open up some of the big chances for some plays. We're going to try to misdirection a little bit in the second half, try to naked a little bit, and then try to get something where we get on the board with a long pass.
Okay, Coach.
Thanks. Just as he said, they try to establish the running game with Curvin Richards, tackled by Bernard Clark after a short gain.
Well, if they're going to get that running game established, it really is going to take, I think, their center and 2 guards to get that done. They need to get it done inside. If we look at the halftime stats.
Time of possession was double for Miami. And you see the play selection. Miami ran it more often than passed. And the rushing yards in negative figures because you subtract the yardage lost on the bad snap back to the punter. Now another fake to Richards. Rolling Van Pelt. Incomplete. Seaman had it. That is now 5 passes today that have been dropped by the Panthers.
And that was the naked bootleg that Mike Gottfried was talking to John Dockery about. You fake the sweep left, you come out all by yourself. And really, he had 2 different receivers wide open. But again, they have not been able to make the plays, not been able to make the catches.
This Pitt team had its confidence shaken by Notre Dame in its last outing, a 45-7 loss. Mike Gottfried had been concerned how this team would handle itself once put in an adverse condition. It's the case now. Then Pelt's pass held on this time by Seaman, but short of the first down. Only to the 37-yard line. They ran the route about 3 yards short of the necessary yardage. Maurice Crum on the tackle, so the Panthers will boot it away. Ryan Greenfield. Now, lining up in formation. Carroll is the return man. Greenfield the punt. The up back is Crossman. Snap it back to Greenfield. Good kick. All the way to the 13-yard line. Carroll is hit at the 14. Tried to find some room right, but Craig Gobb ran him down to the 14. The Miami Hurricanes come out on the field again today trying to stay in the chase for a national championship. They're ranked 7th in the country. They won the title 2 years ago and back in '83. Second most successful program in the 80s in terms of victories. Nebraska has the most wins in the 80s. Here's the handoff to McGuire. Good-looking freshman gets to the 28-yard line. Finally tripped by Lewis Riddick.
A moment ago, we looked at Pitt's first half possession. Let's have a look at Miami's. Again, it's they've had some opportunities, but they had the turnovers, fumble, and the interception down there in scoring territory. You know, you mentioned the 2 national championships by Miami, but you know they had those 2 opportunities slip away too in '85 and '86 when they lost those games, and perhaps could have won 2 more in the '80s. Lost those bowl games, the Sugar Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl.
Erickson going long. And over everyone's head, Pee Wee Smith was in the area. You're alluding to the Tennessee victory, convincing victory it was in the Sugar Bowl over Miami, and the Penn State victory in the Fiesta Bowl.
That's exactly right.
All in all, however, Miami, the last 3 years, has finished the polls ranked 2nd in 1986, 1st in '87, and 2nd a year ago.
The thing about I've admired about the Miami team over the last 5 or 6 years, Jim, is they've always won the games they're supposed to win, the ones they're heavily favored in. And then they've held their own against top-ranked competition as well.
2nd and 10. Erickson with time. Complete across the middle. Complete to Carroll at the 36-yard line. It'll set up 3rd and short.
You know, John Dockery earlier talked about Wesley Carroll maybe having a concussion. He runs so many inside routes and bounces off linebackers, he takes a lot of blows inside.
Junior from Cleveland. Stunned early, but back in. 3rd third. We'll call it 2. McGuire the lone back. 3 receivers for the Canes. That's Dawkins on a wing now, coming in tight. Helping on the pass protection. Ball is batted down. Actually tipped, you could say, by Curtis Bray. They batted down, got their hands on quite a few passes from Erickson right at the line of scrimmage today.
That's the 4th one. And again, a team that takes short drops, you're not going to sack the quarterback a lot. So what's the next best thing? You get the paws up. Now, you saw the Miami offensive lineman try to cut Bray, but Bray went down and then came way up to make the tip.
Kalal is the punter. Along to 51 today. 2 returners back for the Panthers, Tootin and Hampton. This coming in Hampton's direction. Fair catch called at the 23-yard line. The Panthers trying to get it motoring now, looking for their first score today. Miami defensive front. And Greg Mark continues the excellent play.
I think the players from the past, the Jerome Browns, Kevin Fagans, Dan Stubbs, Bill Hawkins, it puts a lot of pressure on me. But also playing with them and watching them as I was a younger player, it really helped me tremendously, just watching them and how to do things out there on the field.
Mark from Pennsauken, New Jersey, and here are the defensive numbers and ranking in the country as far as points allowed, and you can see the ranking almost parallels the team's overall ranking. So it really is defense at Miami all the time, and so much attention indeed goes to the quarterbacks, but this defense always superb.
Well, you know, Greg Mark always plays against a bigger guy than he does, but always seems to win the battle.
Curve and Richards, and a flag down, tackled by Cortez Kennedy. Pitt has not even managed 100 yards total offense to this point. Procedure penalty against the Panthers. Pat, you said a week ago we were at Nebraska, Colorado. You thought Colorado had the best defensive front 7 in college football. If that's the case, where do you rank Miami?
Well, it's a different scheme, obviously, with a 4-down lineman. These guys have better the front 4. What Colorado has is great outside linebacker play with Canavis McGee and Alfred Williams, and a good nose tackle. But if you're looking at 4-down linemen, these guys are the best I've seen in college football.
First and 15. Lining up in the eye, Richards the tailback, gets the pitch. Cortez Kennedy hits him again just past the 20-yard line. And a report now from the Dockster. John?
Thank you, Jim. You know, at halftime, Mike Godfrey was talking about the run game. Well, last year, Curvin Richards became only the second freshman in Pitt history to rush for over 1,000 yards. The other, the great Tony Dorsett. So highly regarded was Richards, they thought about putting signs like this up outside the stadium, number 27, dangerous, Curvin ahead. They haven't done it yet. Maybe they're waiting for Richards to break out. Back to you guys.
That's what they need. Fake to Curvin. Can Pell all the way into the end zone. Gets it away to Redmond. Redmond fumbles. And Kennedy is there for the recovery for Miami.
Two hustling plays there by the Miami defense. Maurice Crum got blocked and then got up and caused the fumble. And then Cortez Kennedy, the guy rushing the passer, number 96, in the middle of your screen, he comes all the way. Now watch Crum, number 49, come in. He's going to cause a fumble, but he was blocked. But then he hustled back into the play, and you saw 96 rushing the passer. Oh, he came all the way back to make the recovery. Boy, that's a terrific hustling defense.
Maurice Crum from the Tampa area, Hillsborough High School, the same high school that produced Dwight Gooden. Now the running play for only 2. McGuire. Well, we've got an update for you, so let's find out what it's all about as we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Jim, as you well know, a Colorado victory sends the Buffaloes to the Orange Bowl, and they are nailing it down. Eric Kissick from a yard out has boosted the Colorado lead to 38-10 over Oklahoma State. They're now in the fourth quarter. Jim and Pat?
Well, if you've seen Colorado play this year, you know Eric Kissick is a valuable member of that team. Rarely sees the football, but gets a touchdown today. Barking the signals on 2nd and 8. Flag down. And they stop play. After the completion to Carroll, that won't count. Notre Dame with another return today for a touchdown. Ricky Waters, 97-yard punt return.
Yeah, unbelievable. They spend an awful lot of time on special teams at Notre Dame for that very reason. You know, watching this Miami team, although that was a penalty against Miami, there are some people really trying to figure out this Miami team. Haven't played a real terribly demanding schedule. They beat a pretty good Michigan State team, but lost to Florida State. But this is a game that Dennis Erickson said we must win, because their goal is to play for the national championship every year. They're not in the conference, so that's always their goal.
Well, they'll have a part in it because they play Notre Dame in 2 weeks. The Irish have scary Penn State next week. And Erickson gets out. Searcy in front of him. Out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Hamilton and Carnell Smith forced them out of bounds.
Well, watch this offensive line, how long they stay with their blocks. They give Erickson an awful lot of time here. And then you're going to see number 73, Searcy, sees that Erickson's in trouble, and he gets out in front of him. That's a big man, 280 pounds, but still gets right out in front. But the first thing they did was give him plenty of protection, and then Searcy leads the way for his quarterback. Love to see that.
Big Leon with the 17 triple E size shoes.
If you stand to the side of him, he looks like an L.
3rd and 4. Batted down again. Oh, another hand on it. This is Carnell Smith this time.
You know, talking to Bob Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator of Miami, he said, if we get balls tipped, we instruct our offensive linemen, then you have to really punch out to get those hands down. They don't like to come, but you got to punch out. But they're not doing that. And again, Carnell Smith gets that right hand up, and that's the 6th tip of a Miami pass.
Carlos Huerta in now for a 45-yard attempt. He's 2 for 2 today. Talal on the hold, now hooking and through there. Big right to left action, and Carlos Huerta is now 16 for 20 on the year. An outstanding place kicker, Carlos Huerta, sophomore from Miami, boots it through from 45 yards, and it's now 16-0 Miami. To Pitt 3 years ago, similar day, dreary and dark, and the Hurricanes won it on that cold November day, 37-10. But one of the lasting memories from that encounter was Craig Hayward. He rushed for 254 yards for the Panthers in a losing effort. Now Pittsburgh trying to establish some sort of ground game today has not been successful. Very little to cheer about offensively here for the home fans. Duveau getting all of the returns today. This one run back to the 27-yard line where he's tackled by Darren Smith. Tomorrow, doubleheader coming your way on CBS. The Redskins and Eagles early. Some will see the Bears against Pittsburgh. Mike Ditka comes back to the area he grew up in, plus other action. The late game, most of you will see the Giants against the Rams, Falcons, 49ers, or Cowboys against Phoenix. All starts 12:30 Eastern Time, NFL Today. They'll take a look at Don Majkowski, the Magic Man at Green Bay. Sherman Richards up the middle for 3, maybe 2.
Seen some pretty good defense here today, but how about the Giant defense? They have been spectacular this year. They face the Rams tomorrow, lead the league in scoring defense. And talking about Majkowski, we saw him earlier in the year, Jim. I'll tell you, he is having a sensational year. He has brought his team back from behind, I think, 4 different times in the 4th quarter of the season.
Now Pitt looking for a little comeback of its own today. 16-0, trailing 9 minutes to go, 3rd quarter. Pitching to Richards. Richards now getting near the first down. He's about 2 yards short at the 34-yard line. Hey, the Big Ten is on the line today. Illinois and Michigan. Let's get an update on that game as we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Well, actually, Jim, this one's out of the whack, and it's a big game there. BYU quarterback Ty Detmer goes up top to Andy Boyce. And watch Boyce sidestep his man. And by the time it's over, it's a 25-yard touchdown play. BYU leads at 28-20, 3rd quarter. Back to Jim and Pat.
All right, not quite the Big Ten.
Nice audible there by Greg.
Yeah. We'll get an update on that later. That is actually the big game in the WAC that will decide the Holiday Bowl.
Pittsburgh fell down.
Tootin's out there. And it's intercepted. Hurley Brown.
Well, that is a nice play by Hurley Brown, Jim, because Roland Smith, number 16, fell down. And Henry Tootin jumped over him. you're going to see in the left part of the screen, the man who's supposed to be guarding is 16, Smith. He slips and falls. He just gotten up. But then Hurley Brown from the strong safety position comes over and makes the play.
Okay, that's 2 interceptions on balls that have been thrown in the direction of Henry Tootin, and he really hasn't fought for the ball. The defenders have come up with the play instead of Tootin.
Well, that was a ball that Hurley Brown, the strong safety, really wasn't his responsibility, but it came across the field to make the play.
Craig Erickson has played the entire game for Miami. Here's your update on the Big Ten. Michigan leading over Illinois before halftime. That game at Champaign and sets up the Rose Bowl picture out of the Big Ten.
Michigan has an awfully good backfield with Taylor at quarterback and Bowles and Leroy Horde come after you. Well, 8:17 remaining, Jim, here in the third quarter. Miami up by 16. The Panthers can get back into this game. There's still plenty of time to do that. But what they have to get is some emotion. If you look here on the sideline, everybody's just standing around. And ordinarily, it's Mark Spindler who's leading the emotion of this team. But you don't see much emotion on the sideline right now from this Pittsburgh team.
Having to repair part of the chains. Jarred loose. A little injury there. Back in action now.
The chains and injuries. Remember Bubba Smith, the injury he had, this career-ending injury when he ran into a marker.
Dennis Erickson's team now. 1st and 10 from the 16. In the backfield, getting away. McGuire gets away from the first tackle. Carnell Smith had a shot at him early. Let's go back down to the sidelines with John Dockery. John?
You know, Jim, I don't know if you noticed, but Greg Mark went into the locker room a little while ago. What happened, he got hit on his knee brace, and it actually buckled a little bit and caused some bruised nerve below his knee. So they took him in, they iced it. They're going to put another brace on and bring him back out. But if he didn't have that brace, he might not have a knee.
And he's been bumped around today. You remember the tailbone injury in the first half as well. 2nd and 8. Erickson's pass caught. Nice job by Randall Hill to come back.
Yeah.
Make the grab at the 32-yard line. That's 14 yards, that pickup.
Boy, throwing the football in the Miami attack is just a sense of timing, and that was beautifully timed there. Nice protection. Erickson gets back, makes the nice read, and then Randall Hill, after running the hook route, comes back to meet the ball. That was a nicely executed play.
Georgia, a winner today over Florida. It's always a heated game. World's largest cocktail party, they call it. Erickson's pass thrown away. Had a defender on him, Hamilton, and no grounding.
Yeah, I don't know why that wasn't grounding. There wasn't anybody within the next zip code, really, of this throw. Again, pretty good rush from the outside all day long. That time it's Sims, number 89. Yeah, there it was. It was number 30. McGuire, he was right. He was in the area. That shouldn't have been grounding. I retract my statement.
Spoken like a lawyer.
Thank you very much. That'll be $150.
Your fees have gone down. 2nd down and 10. Midway third quarter, 16-0 Miami. Right sideline again. No. The heel was on the line, they say, to Pee Wee Smith.
What Miami likes to do, as you see Dennis Erickson talk to Wesley Carroll, is use all of their receivers. Now watch if his heel comes down on the boundary. Yeah, right there, the side judge is there. Clearly he was on the boundary. But to use each of their receivers for different types of route. Pee Wee Smith is a cut guy, a move guy. They use him on short underneath routes. Randall Hill is their speed guy. Wesley Carroll works the middle. And Dale Dawkins could do all of those things.
Mark is returned from the locker room. Worked on the brace. Offense has the ball now. 3rd and 10. Open across the middle. Crowell. And he moves into Pittsburgh territory at the 49-yard line. 19-yard pickup to the backup fullback, Shannon Crowell.
And he really is their best receiver out of the backfield, Crowell is. And Bob Redkowski, the offensive coordinator at Miami, said, we want to get some matchups with our backs out of the backfield, and that time he beat Craig Gobb, number 46, over the middle easily.
time, the pass is caught by Carroll, trying to get away, but Louis Riddick held on by the ankle. And a gain of 8 to Wesley Carroll.
You know, you give Wesley Carroll a lot of credit because he's a guy, as we have seen, has taken a bunch of hits today. A lot of shots over the middle. But he keeps coming back for more. Not afraid to go over the middle. That time he broke to the outside, but the outside move was set up by some of the inside catches he made earlier in the game.
Second down, we'll call it 3 for the Hurricanes. McGuire, first down. Had to get to the 39. He advanced it past that point.
I'll tell you, these offensive linemen for Miami over the years have done a great job of protecting their quarterbacks. Never really take many sacks. But today they have been explosive off the ball. Bobby Garcia, number 50, the center there. Louis Cristobal, 59. Sullivan, number 79, the left tackle. Those guys have been coming off the ball.
First and 10, Miami. All the receivers on the right side. Play action by Erickson. And almost intercepted, but caught instead by Dale Dawkins. Louis Riddick ran in looking for the INT. And instead, 13 yards and to the 24-yard line, the Hurricanes move the football.
That is nice concentration by Dale Dawkins. Because as you said, Riddick comes right in front of me. It looks like he loses sight of it just for the moment. Wow, that is a nice catch. You know, he has made one significant play, at least one significant play each week for Miami.
Dale Dawkins. First and 10.
Very methodical passing attack by Miami we've seen today, Jim.
McGuire on the short side of the field. No gain. Crossman comes up along with Spindler and Ricardo McDonald. Ricardo McDonald, twin brother of Devon McDonald of Notre Dame. Plays a key role in that Notre Dame defense, does brother Devon.
Well, you see the guys running on there for Pittsburgh. They'll go into they have 3 different types of packages. They have a nickel, a dime, and then they have a 46 defense, the defense the Bears popularized under Buddy Ryan a few years ago, trying to put some pressure on Craig Erickson.
Second and 10. Another completion to Carroll. Little stiff arm move as he's bumped down at the 11-yard line by Riddick. All the receivers on this play lined up to the left side. They went back to Wesley Carroll.
Miami does such a nice job right here. You're going to see a lot of guys go deep, and then the guy run the underneath route after they clear out the zone. But the 3 wide receivers to one side, oftentimes they'll have 4. The outside guys go deep, and that clears out a huge area on the left boundary for Wesley Carroll to work. And he has the option of either breaking inside or outside.
This drive began at their own 16. Miami now to the 9-yard line on the first down play.
Well, Pittsburgh has not been able to do it on offense today. It's going to have to be the defense. They're going to have to create another turnover down here in scoring territory if they're going to have any chance of winning.
There's one thing Miami has to be unhappy about. It's their performance inside of the 20 today. Have not been very efficient.
Now, inside the red zone, really, that's really when you start licking your chops, too. But they've had 2 turnovers down inside the 20.
They settle for field goals 2 other times. Second down, lobbed into the air, caught. Dawkins, touchdown, Miami. Pointing to the Miami fans that are stationed in the corner of that end zone.
And they'll go for a 2-point play here, Jim, to try to make it a 24-0 lead. Really an impressive drive that time. They did a little bit of everything. They ran the ball with power. They threw the ball inside and outside.
Now the 2-point try. will line up the receivers on the right. Pee Wee Smith in motion. Jumping incomplete. Intended for Lamar Thomas. 22-0. 9-yard touchdown, Pat. Tell us about it.
And it was a beautiful touch here by Craig Erickson. We've seen him drill the ball. This one's just lobbed over 2 defenders, and then a very athletic catch there by Dale Dawkins.
What is the formula for the Hurricanes to win a national championship? Let's find out.
From what I understand, we've got to beat everybody left on our schedule and go to a bowl game. Looks like maybe the Sugar, if that happened, played Alabama, who probably would have to be undefeated at that time and would have to beat them. Notre Dame would have to beat Colorado in the Orange Bowl, and then depends on how people vote.
Well, here's the last touchdown. Dale Dawkins scoring from 9 yards. And now the kick to DeVoe. Returning to the 28-yard line. Very complicated as to what has to happen for Miami, but they are theoretically in it. And as he mentioned, they have to win the rest of their games and really hope that Alabama is unbeaten once they play them in the Sugar Bowl.
You know, the opportunity to control their own destiny obviously was lost when they lost to Florida State a few weeks ago. So again, a lot of ifs, a lot of things have to fall in place, but it's a reasonable scenario.
First down play, quickly over to Tootin. You know, what has been a dismal day for Tootin. He gets his hands on the ball, maybe a little confidence boost for the senior from Camden, New Jersey.
You know, it has been a tough day for Henry, but he has had a very good year. He really has had a good year from the drop the touchdown pass early in the game, but coming into the game, the coaches said he is our big play guy. We need a big play. We go to Henry Tootin.
He's their top receiver. That's his first catch today. Second down, Turvin Richards leans for the first down for the Panthers. Bernard Clark on the tackle.
Well, Pittsburgh needing 3 scores, 3:11 remaining in the third. And again, you still can't give up here. They have a whole quarter to go as well. I'm a little bit surprised, perhaps, Jimmy, that they aren't moving, getting out of the huddle a little bit quicker when you're down by 22 points. Maybe get into your 2-minute offense earlier than you ordinarily would.
22-point deficit. That's the exact amount of points they trailed West Virginia. 31-9. Came back and tied it in the final minutes. Final seconds, actually. Richards accelerates near midfield. He's about a yard short of the first down. Miami's Huerta scored first with a field goal. And then the touchdown by the freshman Steve McGuire. 10-0 Miami. Carlos Huerta with another field goal. 13-0. Added a 45-yard, 3 for 3 on the day is Huerta. In the touchdown just moments ago to Dawkins. They missed the 2-point try. It's 22-0. 7th-ranked Miami over number 14 Pitt. 2nd and 1 for the 14th-ranked Panthers. And a first down.
Again, this game is long from being over, but every series becomes important for Pittsburgh now. They can't afford to punt the ball anymore in this game as the third quarter winds down, 2:17 remaining. They need to squeeze something out of every series they get, because in the fourth quarter they'll get perhaps 3 more chances, 3 more series.
Only the second time today Pittsburgh has been in Miami territory. Drove once to the 16 and then had a pass intercepted in the end zone. Van Pelt's throw to Redmond. The fullback has the first down. Well, he's near the first down. They spotted instead. He was running down that right sideline. They say he touched the out of bounds line at the 40. Maurice Crum bumped him out. Dennis Erickson was a cornerback himself in college. In fact, both Erickson and Godfrey, the 2 coaches today, were quarterbacks at MSU. Erickson at Montana State and Godfrey at Morehead State. 2nd and short. Turvin Richards doing a good job of getting the first down, just kind of backpedaling into that wall. First down, Panthers.
Rushing defensive Miami averaging 72 yards. Today only the 15. Again, this front four were all that I expected to see, Jim, quite honestly. And again, as good as those front four guys are, they got some pretty good people behind them at the linebacker position, particularly Bernard Clark and Maurice Crum.
Pittsburgh putting together a drive. First down play, running it with Derek Lewis for about 3.
Russell Maryland, number 67, right here. Watch him, how he gets off the ball and how low he stays. There are quicker guys in college football. There are stronger guys, but I think nobody has the kind of balance that Russell Maryland has. And again, he'll make plays rushing the passer. He can stuff inside runs there, and he can make plays downfield as well.
Second down, 7. And Pelt complete to Lewis. Shakes one tackle and gets near the first down at the 26-yard line. Crum on the tackle.
Well, the Pitt offense on this drive has done a nice job of being able to squeeze out a few yards running the football and then come back and hit a back in the flat. They're clearing out with the wide receivers, and that's leaving it open for Derek Lewis, primarily the fullback, out in the short side of the field in the flat.
Pat, he picked up the first down at the 26-yard line of Miami. See number 19, Baron Jackson, coming to the right side as a receiver. Irvin Richards in trouble, gets away. Nice run by Richards to the 18-yard line, tackled by Kenny Berry.
Irvin Richards has a unique style. He runs pretty much straight up, but he has the ability to kind of bounce off people and then emerge on the other side of the pile. And that's what happened there. I thought Greg Mark was going to stop him for a loss.
Well, he had the 7th best rushing record ever by a freshman. Last year, he ran for 1,200 yards. Now the Panthers are on the move, looking to score for the first time today. We're through 3 quarters, 22-0, Miami leading. College football returns after this message and a word from your local station.
CBS Sports coverage of today's CFA game is sponsored by UPS. Fast, efficient service to 175 countries and territories worldwide. Norelco Lift and Cut Shavers. We made close comfortable. And by Owens Corning. Our building products put your house in the pink.
Well, we welcome you back to the Steel City of Pittsburgh. 7th-ranked Miami leading 22-0 over 14th-ranked Pitt as we begin the 4th quarter. Jim Nantz along with Pat Hayden and John Dockery on the sidelines.
And as we've said, Pittsburgh, trailing by the 22, needs to do something with every series. They'll probably have 3 more remaining in this game.
Pitt begins the 4th quarter, 2nd and short from the Miami 18. Running with Lewis. And they may have to measure for this one. Now, if you've just joined us, game summary, total offense, Miami has doubled the figure on the Panthers. Erickson has thrown a touchdown. Steve McGuire moving in on 100 yards, scored the first touchdown for the Panthers, and Carlos Huerta 3 for 3 on field goals.
3rd and short, 3rd and less than 1 for Pittsburgh. The biggest 3rd down of the game. They're going to have to go for it, so they have 2 downs to get this 1 yard.
Brought in Adam Walker as the tailback. And incomplete. Looked like a mix-up. Tootin was on that side, and Van Pelt quickly threw it over there. I think he thought he was going to cut to the outside instead of going in.
A little bit earlier, a surprise call on 3rd and 1, but they were hoping for the big play there. You fake the play-action pass, and you're trying to get the ball out to Tootin, but I think it was a pretty good rush by Jimmy Jones that made Van Pelt throw the ball much before he wanted to. Interesting call.
Now, of course, go for it. On 4th and inches, let's check out that noted Miami defensive line. Well, they're going to fake, and Van Pelt, little bootleg, picks up the first down.
Isn't that nice? We've talked about his faking several times today. But again, the little things like that I think, a really remarkable. Very few teams spend much time on it. But Paul Hackett and Larry Kirksey, the offensive backfield coach at Pittsburgh, work on faking every day.
First and 10, Pittsburgh. From the Miami 12. Out of the eye, they go with Richards. And he only gets a yard. Hit first by Bernard Clark. Now the Heisman watch. 1989, Emmitt Smith today ran for over 100 yards. Florida lost, however, to Georgia. Anthony Thompson, folks, 377 yards today. Put him back in the picture. He has the NCAA touchdown record. He carried 52 times. You think Indiana wasn't trying to give him a big game? That's an all-time single-game record in the NCAA. Anthony Thompson. Curvin Richards gets to the 6. And Notre Dame, as expected, big over SMU. Tony Rice today, again, not big numbers, but you tie his candidacy into wins. Major Harris today is the Mountaineers had a scare but won by a point. Good outing. 3 touchdowns he passed. Houston and Texas will be starting any minute now at the Astrodome.
Jim, 3rd and 4 here. They'll have 2 downs to get those 4 yards.
Oh, Curvin Richards.
Wow.
Once he took the pitch, Hurley Brown was right there.
And really kind of surprising as Pittsburgh tried to hammer the ball, running 3 straight times down there. Left of the screen, number 8 down here is Hurley Brown, who's ordinarily a strong safety, but he's down in a 3-point stance and coming in off the corner. And Bill Chirpak, the guard, didn't even have a chance of getting him.
They're going to attempt a field goal, and you heard a few boos. Frazier's the kicker.
Well, they need touchdowns in 2-point plays. That's what they need.
Eltzer on the hold, and Pitt is on the board, but they're still down by 3 scores. The difference is 19. 22-3, Miami.
How much insulation do you have in your attic? 3 inches? 6 inches? Well, the Department of Energy recommends R38 for most American homes, which is equivalent to a foot of Owens Corning pink fiberglass. So grab a ruler and measure your attic insulation. Then get rolling. Because 12 inches of pink fiberglass can help you get a foothold on your energy bills.
The following fine items were purchased with Visa cards last year, but not paid for. They were won in the Visa Our Treat sweepstakes. Now all you have to do to enter is use your Visa card, and almost anything you buy just may be our treat. And the more you use your card, the more chances you have to win. So why pay with anything else?
Why do you think there are more Corollas on the road than any other car in its class?
Toyota reliability. That's why I own a Corolla.
I was amazed at Corolla's resale value, so I bought a new one.
I get a kick out of just looking at it. Nice, huh?
Tonight on CBS, Paradise, followed by Tour of Duty, and then on Saturday night with Connie Chung, the extraordinary story unfolding in Berlin. All the latest from Germany tonight on Saturday night with Connie Chung. Pitt just put it through the goalpost for their first points of the day. Ed Frazier, a 29-yard field goal for the freshman, 22-3.
But I still don't understand the decision going for the field goal.
Nor do I. You're still at 22 down. You're 3 scores down. You're still 3 scores down when you're trailing by 19.
Same situation they were in.
Van Horn on the onside kick and recovered by Miami. Never a question. Jesse Armstead highly recruited freshman linebacker out of Dallas. Smothered it. Miami takes over in Pitt territory. Let's go back down to John Dockery.
Jim Nance, a lot of speculation about the bowl picture. I'm with Tom Flower, the president. Jim Flower, sorry, Jim, the president of the Sugar Bowl. And is it a lock for Miami?
Certainly not. Miami is in our picture, but you still have Florida State, Notre Dame, runner-up in the Big 8, runner-up in Big 10 that could participate. But Miami, obviously, is the team we're interested. That's why we came here to watch them play.
Would they be your first choice?
I can't say that. I'll speak as one person. When team selection does that, makes a recommendation to the executive committee, and it says to determine. But I would say that they're one of the contenders.
Thank you, Jim Flower. Back to you, Jim Nance.
All right, the incomplete pass. You know, bowl people really crack me up. Everyone knows that Miami is their team. And I tell you what, he may not realize, but Notre Dame winning today, the Irish are going to go to the Orange Bowl. The only question for the Irish is if Colorado lost today, they would have been looking at a possible Sugar Bowl because of Alabama being unbeaten. Always try to disguise it, though, and make you think that it's not until November 25th. All right, no gain on the running play by Miami.
It will all take place next weekend. A lot of it's already settled in already.
That's my point. Everything that they try to tell you publicly, but behind the cameras, they'll tell you. Everything is falling into order, especially with Colorado's win today.
You know, conferences, as we've seen too, try to work packages to get as many teams as they can into different bowl games. The Big Ten has done that for years.
Third down play for Miami. And Randall Hill trying to get away. Lonzo Hampton swings him down short of the first down.
Now here's a situation now to Jim. I think Pittsburgh is going to have to go for the block. I mean, there's just no doubt about it at this point. Just no reason to lay back and try to return this one.
Hampton back to return. Punt of Kalal. 10:39 left in the game. 22-3 Miami. Big high kick. Let's see what kind of bounce.
Wow.
Oh, he ran it in. No, they're going to say he touched it first before he was in the end zone. That's Darren Smith. Fans wanted a touchback, but the ball is down at the 1.
Again, it's all momentum. If you catch the ball inbounds, the momentum carries you in. It is down where you caught the ball inside the end zone, and he caught it on the 1-yard line.
Good play, Darren Smith. Freshman from Miami. 42-yard punt for Galal, and Pitt again backed up. It's been all Miami today. Pitt just managed a field goal on its last possession. Great history here of football for the Panthers. You know, there are actually 3 NFL coaches, current coaches, who played collegiately at Pittsburgh. Think about it for a minute. There's one that's an obvious.
Is this the pop quiz?
This is your pop quiz. Rhodes Scholars need not apply, however.
I'm not sure I can answer.
We're going to give the answer away here in just a second.
Oh, I know one at least.
Okay. 1st and 10. Pittsburgh. Out of the end zone. Safety. It's Greg Mark. Van Pelt suffered a safety against Notre Dame when he stumbled after the exchange. This time it was just the rush, the overbearing rush that Miami can put on you. And Greg Mark comes in and does not allow Van Pelt to put it away. Throw it away. 24-3 now.
Well, Jim, what about those 3 head coaches that you were talking about?
Well, the answer to that question, the players at Pitt, now coaches in the NFL, Joe Walton, Marty Schottenheimer, and Mike Ditka. In fact, Ditka was an All-America tight end at Pitt. That was the obvious. Played here, finished here in 1960. The only Pitt grad in both the Pro Football and College Football Hall of Fame. And Ditka tomorrow returns to Pittsburgh. The Aliquippa, Pennsylvania native will bring his Bears in town to play the Steelers. First time he's been back as a head coach.
I knew the answer. I just didn't want to spoil your fun. I just want you to know that.
Ryan Greenfield will kick the free kick from his 20. Pee Wee Smith, Wesley Carroll back. Fielded by Smith. Pee Wee.
Wow.
Pee Wee's still going.
He doesn't run like a Pee Wee, does he?
Oh, a little stiff arm in there, Pat, and out of bounds at the 33-yard line. It is now time to present this week's Toyota Leadership Award to team players who have been singled out by their school's coaching and faculty staff. Today's game team leadership winners: Lewis Riddick from Pitt. Lewis is an economics major from Quakertown, Pennsylvania, and Carlos Huerta from Miami. Carlos is a pre-law major from Coral Gables. 3.3 grade point average. Toyota donates a check for $1,000 to each school's general scholarship fund. Miami takes over from its 33. Still throwing. And over the head of the intended target, Lamar Thomas. What about Craig Erickson's performance today, Pat?
Well, you know, he's got the strong arm, but I think he's getting right back into the rhythm. And quite honestly, I think Pittsburgh has had a lot of pressure in his face. We've seen guys tip a lot of balls, and Spindler and Saragusa have pushed their linemen back, so he's had to throw a lot of high balls because it's a pretty good rush. But there is no doubt that he's got a big-time arm.
16 for 34, 183 yards. One touchdown, one INT. Another completion. Lamar Thomas near the first down. They spot it past the necessary yardage. New set of downs for Miami.
You know, talking about Craig Erickson, you know, lots of guys have physical ability, but he does so much with his mind at the line of scrimmage. Again, talking to Bob Bratkowski, the offensive coordinator, he says he changes a lot of plays up there. He'll use the hand signals, he'll call audibles. He visualizes a lot of plays right up there at the line of scrimmage. Does a lot with his mind.
From the 44-yard line. Four-receiver set. Brings in Carroll on a wing. Trying the sideline, Pee Wee Smith at the 50.
We talk about a versatile player that Wesley Carroll is. You just mentioned him. That was the audible by Erickson. He brought Carroll in, and then Carroll blocked.
Gino Torretta on the sidelines, keeping the hands warm. He's the quarterback who stepped in for the injured Erickson. For 4 games he started, and only a freshman. His brother Jeff quarterback here and was a backup to Testaverde at Miami. Second down 4. Shannon Crowell on the carry, short of the first down. Be 3rd and 3 for Miami.
With the late flag there. It seems like it never ends with quarterbacks at Miami. You know, you lose Craig Erickson for a few weeks, and then Gino Torretta steps in. You really don't lose a beat. Lost the game to Florida State. Personal foul there against Miami.
Dale Dawkins was tangled with Dan Crossman, and they hit Miami for 15.
You know, this is something that Dennis Erickson was very cognizant of, the fact that Miami had this reputation before he came of getting in a lot of fights and those kind of penalties, and he's tried to pull in the reins somewhat at his guys about flagrant personal foul type of penalties and taunting players. It's different than it was a couple years ago.
And he reprimands Dale Dawkins. 3rd and 18. Carroll almost made a circus catch. Miami will punt. 9:17 left in the game. Michigan still out in front of Illinois in the 3rd. Again, Pitt hoping today a victory would elevate them to a New Year's Day bowl. But it's been Miami from the start. Now the word out is that Pitt, which would be a great draw for some bowls, for many bowls, I should say. Fair catch called. They'll let it bounce around. Pitt may be in line for a possible John Hancock Bowl berth. There is a flag down back in the area of where Kalal punted. Another personal foul against Miami.
Yep. Again, this is the reputation we talk so much that Dennis Erickson's fighting so hard to change at Miami.
The ball rolled out at the 27-yard line. If you're Pitt, I've got to think you back him up another 15.
It's an interesting guy, I think, Dennis Erickson. His coach, Jim Sweeney, coached him as a quarterback and said, I've never been around a more competitive guy than Dennis Erickson. And he wants to win at basketball, at marbles, at pools, and certainly as a head coach.
They're going to step the personal foul off at the end of where the ball actually came to rest. So Pitt takes over at its own 32-yard line. That's where we'll pick it up when we come back. 3 Miami. The Hurricanes with a safety, 2 touchdowns, and 3 field goals. To total 24 points. Pitt has the football at its own 32-yard line. Oh, never a chance to turn around again. It's Greg Mark coming in. Mark made the tackle on the safety last time, the last play by Pittsburgh. As we go back down to John Dockery.
Jim Nance, we've talked about a lot of talent on this field. Well, here's a man who can talk to that issue. It's Tom Donahoe from the Pittsburgh Steelers, who scouts for them. And what about the talent on the field today? Who are the best players out there?
Been impressed with a lot of the players, John, but I think from a senior standpoint for Pitt, Dean Caliguar, offensive guard and center, is a guy that the pros are looking at. Alonzo Hampton, the defensive back, is another highly rated prospect. And from the Miami standpoint, several of their defensive linemen, Cortez Kennedy, Greg Mark, Willis Pegues, and also the middle linebacker Bernard Clark.
So you really do like that Miami defense, especially their front four. What about the game tomorrow? Steelers have the Bears coming to town.
We've been on a roller coaster this year, and tomorrow we're due for our up week. We're excited about the challenge of playing the Chicago Bears, and I'm sure, John, you spent some time in Pittsburgh. You know that Coach Knoll will have the football team ready to play.
I spent a couple of very nice years in Pittsburgh with the Rooneys. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Thank you, John.
Well, Van Pelt goes to the bench, rubs the left knee, and while we have a moment, let's take it back to New York and another update from Greg Gumbel. Greg?
Jim, couple of games to tell you about. Denison has beaten Wittenberg in the North Coast Athletic Conference. That marks Wittenberg's first losing season in 35 years. Meanwhile, in Williamstown, Massachusetts, Williams beat Amherst 17-14, and for Williams, the first unbeaten and untied season in school history. Back to Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Greg. 24-3 Miami, 7-1 on the year, the Hurricanes. And now they'll be challenged by the backup quarterback for the Panthers, Scott Stark, Jr. from Mission Viejo, California.
An interesting guy. Went to Stanford. Actually was a starter there at Stanford for one game against UCLA a couple years ago.
Second down play. They'll run it on his first snap with Lewis. Miami defense only gets stronger as the afternoon goes on.
You know, Greg Mark, we have seen, even though he has been injured with the knee, keeps coming on. Talking to Greg Mark yesterday, it seems to me he has as much fun playing college football as I've seen a guy have. And, you know, I think a lot of times in big-time football, guys don't have enough fun, but Greg Mark seems to enjoy himself. The practical joker on the team, smiling all day yesterday.
Boy, he's smiling now. Consider the last 3 offensive plays by Pitt. He dropped Van Pelt for a safety. He dropped Van Pelt for a 9-yard loss on a sack and just made a 2-yard tackle for a loss. Van Pelt returns, and the pass, well, that was Tootin. And yes, all right, Henry Tootin makes the good catch. 30-yard gain. That wasn't easy. We've seen him have a rough afternoon earlier.
Well, he went after that ball, Tootin did. Watch down the middle. The ball is thrown inside. Nothing but concentration there.
Oh,
he trapped that ball.
Actually,
that ball came out.
Touched the ground. got an injury on the Miami side. Shane Curry is down in the area where Van Pelt threw the football.
Shane Curry is a guy who splits the left defensive end position with Willis Pegues. Number 44 at the bottom of the screen against 62 Roman Matus. He's getting held. That's a takedown. He is getting held and tackled by Matus.
Pat, they're bringing the football back to the line of scrimmage. Now, that's unusual. They had given the indication that it was a catch and a 30-yard gain during the injury delay. They brought the football back. They're going to call it incomplete, which is a good call.
It was a trap. It was definitely not a catch.
But it was not revealed to our eyes until we saw the replay. Again, see the ball on the ground. On the ground for a moment.
No doubt. Maybe they've just instituted the instant replay here at Pittsburgh.
Greenfield will punt for Pittsburgh midway through the fourth quarter. 24-3 Miami. Low spiral. Wesley Carroll ducks, gets away, and down at the 46-yard line. Got an NFL doubleheader coming your way tomorrow. The Redskins play the Eagles. Washington smarting from its loss to the Cowboys last Sunday night. And the Eagles were beaten by the Chargers. The Bears here at Pittsburgh. New Orleans against New England. Minnesota and Tampa Bay. And the oncoming Green Bay Packers challenge Detroit. Late, the Giants play the Rams, or the Falcons, 49ers, Dallas, Phoenix. Most will see the Giants-Rams game. Starts at 12:30 Eastern Time, NFL Today. Please join us. McGuire, the lone back for Miami. Stay with the 3-receiver set. This will give McGuire 100 yards. Still will not go to the ground. That is back-to-back 100-yard games for McGuire. A rush for 136 yards last week. And now he's 22 carries, 110 yards today. First Miami back to have back-to-back 100-yard rushing performances since Alonzo Highsmith in 1984. Back then, Highsmith had 3 straight games where he did it. We've talked about it earlier. He reminds you a great deal of Highsmith, even wears the same jersey.
Well, he's a big guy. Like I say, the only fullback size back they have in their lineup.
Tackled by Crossman on the carry by McGuire.
And if you can run in situations like this, Jim, when the defense knows you're going to run the ball, then you're doing something. You're doing something right.
Indiana in that victory today against Wisconsin. Again, let me emphasize that Anthony Thompson set a new NCAA single-game rushing record. 52 carries, 377 yards, 4 touchdowns.
You know, we have seen a couple of Miami guys go down, Jim, and quite honestly, at this point in the game, 6:44 remaining with Miami leading 24-3. I'm surprised to see a lot of their frontline guys in. Remember, they've got a tough matchup with Notre Dame on November 25th, and you want to keep Erickson and your linemen healthy for that game. And that's their best offensive lineman, Mike Sullivan, who's down now.
Sullivan, the left tackle, has started in over 30 consecutive games for the Hurricanes. Now being helped off the field.
They will need him November 25th, believe me. Was a guard a year ago. They wanted to put their best offensive lineman at left tackle, so they moved, and he has had a very fine year.
Now he's replaced by Diego London, freshman from Upper Marlboro, Maryland. 6:44 left in the contest. 24-3 Miami. The Hurricanes have not allowed a touchdown in 4 of their last 9 games. They have not allowed Pitt in the end zone today. 2nd and 12. Complete to Thomas.
Now they're going to rule it incomplete. They're going to say he did not have a foot down. Instead of 3rd and long for Craig Erickson.
You know, Jim, we talked about Wesley Carroll so much. Again, he came in a formation on an audible, close to the line of scrimmage to block there. We have seen him catch the ball over the middle. He is a physical receiver. He has taken a beating over the middle, but there's the second time I've seen him come down and block an on-rushing linebacker.
3rd and 12. Crowell, the lone back. Now out of there in motion. Harrison gets away first and then goes down. Saragusa. Hamilton was in on him, putting the pressure initially, and then Saragusa sacked him. Craig Erickson returning here to Pittsburgh, where his grandfather, his maternal grandfather, once starred for Pitt. He was an All-America tight end, Charles Hartwig, 1934. He was a tight end and a guard. In fact, they named an award after him here at Pittsburgh, Charles Hartwig Award, for the player who best exemplified Pitt athletics. Mike Ditka once won the Hartwig Award. Grandfather of Craig Erickson, the Miami quarterback. Bilal punt, trying to pooch it. It got caught way up in the air, and it's really going to hurt his average, I'll tell you that. Only 13 yards on the punt. Pitt has the football at its own 34-yard line.
Boy, Cohell is really upset with himself. That's what you call the bad pooch.
Poor pooch.
Poor pooch. There you go. And Mike Gottfried has to be disappointed and wondering about this team. He saw his team get blown out by Notre Dame 2 weeks ago, thought they were ready emotionally to play this game, but I never really saw a great deal of emotion on this team after the first quarter, Jim.
But very little. Very little generated by the fans as well. Completion to Lewis, and a 5-yard gain to the 39-yard line. Darren Smith on the tackle. Let's find out what's going on with John Dockery.
You know, Jim, you're looking at Shane Curry. You see the big ice pack taped to his leg there, his right ankle. He has a sprained right ankle. It's hard to say how serious this is right now. But if you come over this way a little more, you'll also see Mike Sullivan being worked on here. He also has a sprain, his left ankle. So, you know, when you think about Notre Dame coming up, Miami's gotten banged up here. It's hard to say how long these guys will be out. Back to you guys.
Well, Pat, you mentioned that. The two players going down here with a comfortable lead.
I'm surprised. You know, you still see Cortez Kennedy in the ball game and some of the other frontliners in. But they have a little chance to perhaps get healthy next week. They play San Diego State before the matchup with Notre Dame.
Notre Dame in 2 weeks. A night game at the Orange Bowl, where Miami has won 30 straight games. Van Pelt's toss caught by Richard. Good play and a first down for Pittsburgh at midfield as we go back to Greg Gumbel in New York. Greg.
Jim, in that key game in the WAC, Air Force coming back, D. Dowis ties Freddie Sullivan for most rushing touchdowns in a career by a quarterback with his 39th. They're awaiting the extra point, just over 2 minutes to play in Utah. Air Force trails by 4. Back to Pittsburgh.
Freddie Solomon, yes, the same guy who started as a receiver for the 49ers, was a quarterback at Tampa, the University of Tampa. 1st and 10, Pittsburgh. Oh, Van Pelt looking around. This is a busted play. And a loss of about 3 on the play.
How could you tell? You know, Van Pelt has taken an awful lot of shots here today, and you have to admire his courage. You know, early in the day, John Dockery talked about him spending a lot of time with the offensive linemen. And playing quarterback is about leadership. And he felt if he spent the summer in the weight room with his offensive linemen, they'd believe in him a lot more this year. And even though his team is losing today, I think those guys are going to come away with a lot more respect because he has been beaten up.
2nd and 13 for the Panthers. Oh, batted down by Kennedy.
That's the old Wilsonburger in your face.
Well, the Miami defense allowing, yes, less than a yard per carry, forcing 3 turnovers, 3 sacks, and a safety. 25 plays in all for no gain or lost yardage.
And the hidden stat, there will be about 50 Pittsburgh guys in the whirlpool tomorrow.
3rd and 13. Well, they'll run it. Trying to cross him up with Lewis. He gets to the 45 of Miami, which is 4 yards short of the first. We'll go for it now, I'm sure. Jesse Armstead is in there now for Miami. He made the tackle. Freshman from Dallas, played on the Texas 5A champions, Carter High School.
You know, as Pittsburgh licked its wounds and looks ahead, too, they play East Carolina next week. Then a big traditional matchup they have with Penn State. And then December 2nd, they play Rutgers in Dublin.
In Dublin, Ireland. Producer Mike Burks was traveling that area earlier this year. Maybe he's doing a little scouting report. It lands downfield for this game. And the ball again is tipped. Tipped by Miami, and it was Anthony Hamlet. Yeah, that'll be Pitt and Rutgers over there in Ireland. National championship scenario. Notre Dame with 10 wins. Remember, they had the kickoff classic, so they'll be playing 12 in the regular season. Penn State next week, Miami the following. We'll have both of those games here on CBS. Colorado clinched the Orange Bowl with its victory today. Don't forget about Michigan. They're in a war right now with Illinois. However, Alabama, LSU tonight. So the Canes take over. They bring in Torretta at quarterback, and they stay with Steve McGuire on the ground. They're going to say he was down. There was a fumbled football. Going to say the knee was down. So Miami retains the football. Michigan leading in the 3rd quarter against the Illini. Winner going on to the Rose Bowl. Now back to that championship scenario. Yes, Florida State with 2 losses is ranked 5th in the country. Then Nebraska and Miami. I think, though, when you look at this particular graphic, that page, Miami is the one of the 3 that has a chance, actually, at the national championship. Nebraska will not be able to improve itself in a bowl game against a high-ranked opponent.
Miami obviously plays number 1, or may play number 1 ranked Notre Dame, and then perhaps a very highly ranked Alabama team in the Sugar Bowl. But, you know, think about Notre Dame and their schedule, too, Jim. They have played a gruesome schedule this year. You know, in the preseason, I thought defending their title from a year ago, if Notre Dame won 8 games this year, that it would have had a pretty good year. I have really been surprised how well the Irish have played this year. Still have 2 tough ones remaining in Penn State and Miami.
That reception by Dawkins, another Miami first down. Crowell in the backfield. Torretta. A little too long. He led Lamar Thomas. No, that Notre Dame schedule is a bear the next 2 weeks. And you can remember 1987 when the Irish went to Penn State and played in the snow and cold up there. I believe they missed out on a 2-point conversion to lose 21-20 at Penn State. It looked like the Nittany Lions may be looking a little ahead today. Ended up in a tie against Maryland, 13 all.
I think we should give her an award for any guy who doesn't say hi mom when they get on the screen.
Crowell. Good yardage. Good yardage. Near the 35-yard line, maybe a yard short of the first. Well, we're talking about Heisman candidates earlier. Let's get an update on the situation as we go back to Greg Gumbel.
Well, Jim, for those who may have missed it earlier, perhaps the most outstanding performance of the day by Hoosier running back Anthony Thompson in his team's win over Wisconsin. 52 carries, a Division 1A record, 377 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Let's go back to Jim and Pat in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, record day for Thompson. Miami picks up the first down on 3rd and short. You know, Pat, you've been pushing Darian Hagan. How about his numbers today as Colorado came from behind? He rushed for 54 yards, passed for 118, and 3 touchdowns.
He's been able to do it both ways this year. Today was throwing the football, and last week we saw him running the football and pitching the football. But Anthony Thompson, I think, is an interesting candidate. I think you look at him as much as a career candidate, Jim. Look at his 3 or 4 years at Indiana and not just this one season, much like you would with Tony Rice.
There's the running play to Crowell. That touchdown number we saw for Hagan combines both passing and rushing.
Well, you know,
Notre Dame keeps winning, and we've discussed the Tony Rice situation for the Heisman many times, and you tie it into the wins and losses. Notre Dame's victory total now 22 in a row with Tony Rice as the starting quarterback. The 22-game win streak. And they'll need 2 big performances from Tony Rice the next 2 weeks. They walk away with victories. You got to think he'll win the Heisman, because he'll have big games to win those 2 for Notre Dame should they win them.
Yeah, and certainly wouldn't be an undeserving candidate after what he's done the last 2 years, believe me.
No question.
Hasn't had spectacular throwing numbers.
Well, you've talked about the schedule, and then to have the win streak against that schedule. Crowell is banged up now. He had the last carry for Miami. Last minute of the game in this final quarter has been a costly one, perhaps, for the Hurricanes.
Yeah, we saw Mike Sullivan go out, of course, and Greg Mark, Shane Curry. All players that are going to need down the stretch run if they're going to compete for the national championship.
You know, the one player in the Heisman race who has had really good numbers every week, Andre Ware at Houston. He's been very consistent. Yes, he did throw 3 interceptions in the loss against Texas A&M, but still totaled over 200 yards passing. In the loss against Arkansas, he was over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns.
He's had some staggering numbers. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And just much like Barry Sanders had staggering numbers a year ago at Oklahoma State. But the quarterback at BYU, Detmer's had some pretty big numbers throwing the ball, too.
Scott Mitchell, the quarterback, the kid, the left-hander out of Utah. Good numbers as well. But Ware's numbers, very impressive.
Oh, wow.
Pee Wee Smith. And the ball goes out of bounds at the 27-yard line. Oh.
Give him a hand. There you go.
Let's go back to Greg Gumbel. Greg?
Well, Jim, BYU puts the cap on a big victory over the Air Force Academy. Ty Detmer, his 4th touchdown pass of the game, 45 yards to Chris Smith, and with just under a minute remaining, BYU leads at 44-35.
Yeah, the 9-point difference. I tell you, the big guy almost tripped trying to run that one in, but there was your guy Ty Detmer you mentioned a moment ago.
Well, you know, as we look at this Miami team today, I thought they were uncertain because of the competition they played and the way they played against Florida State, but I came away very impressed with this Miami defense, Jim.
McGuire on probably the game's final play. They'll stop the clock to move the chains.
We started this day by saying you win championships with great defense and strong performances at quarterback. Miami's done it twice this decade. They certainly have a type of defense that can do it again.
They'll play San Diego State next week. Miami will. And then Notre Dame. November 25th. Pitt drops to 5-2-1. Toretta downs it, and the game is over. A 24-3 victory for the Miami Hurricanes. Now 8-1 on the year and staying in the national championship picture. For Miami, Steve McGuire, an 8-yard touchdown run. He ran for over 100 yards and a 9-yard touchdown pass to Dale Dawkins. They added 3 field goals and a safety. And a 24-3 win over Pittsburgh. Only a field goal in the final quarter prevented the shutout for the Panthers. The Chevrolet most valuable players of the game, Greg Mark. Impressive defensive end from Miami. Had 3 sacks today, including a safety. And from Pitt, the freshman, Keith Hamilton. He tipped 3 passes, was in on a lot of plays as well. And a check in the amount of $1,000 will be donated by Chevrolet to each school's general scholarship fund to further assist qualified students in all chosen academic fields. Miami now 8-1 on the year. In Pittsburgh, 5-2-1.